He is a fifth-rank alchemist. The more he talked, the more the tears came rolling out of the elder. How many years has it been? For the young master's illness, the medicine sect had exhausted everything to only come out with nothing. But now, this girl was able to cure it with minimal effort. No matter what, she will forever be the benefactor of the whole medicine sect. Just that, can I ask what sort of method did your kitty use? A faint glow emanated out of the elder. We've tried many things over the years, but all had failed at what you did with ease. This, Bai Yan's expression became a little awkward. That's difficult to say. Startled. The answer was honestly outside of the elder's expectation because the girl only had to say no instead of saying it in such a roundabout way. This translation is only hosted on Ka-Translation, Young Master. Since Bai Yan wouldn't tell him, he can only turn around for the patient instead. Like Bai Yan, the sick man also showed a somewhat awkward expression. I don't know either. When I got into the room, the next thing I knew was that I fainted away. By the time I awoke, the wisp of energy inside my body was gone. Now the situation only got more awkward. Showing an embark. Said glow on her cheeks. Bai Yan only didn't want to explain the procedure because she knew the man would refuse if she did. That's why she gave the wink to Little Rice when they left. It's to tell the tiger cub what to do. That's so. The elder appeared disappointed. Because of this reason, he seems to have misjudged Bai Yan as not wanting to reveal the secret instead of just being embark. Said. No matter though, what's important to him was his young master's health, so everything else can step aside. I have here a written prescription. Rummaging through her pocket, Bai Yan finally found the paper she had prepared earlier. By the items on the list for me. It's to help your young master's health. His physical body hasn't recovered yet, so he needs some pills to aid him. Shocked by those words, the elder immediately spread open the folded paper to be completely surprised by the content. Frowning, he was perplexed by the recipe. There are numerous alchemists in the medicine sect, plus he too was a fifth-grade alchemist, but never had he seen such a combination of ingredients. Miss Bai Yan, what kind of medicine are you trying to concoct? A fifth-grade Vitality Rejuvenation Pill. Vitality Rejuvenation Pill was the byproduct of her research in improving the biorestoration Dan pill used by old Lord Lonback when the grandpa was ill. The reason why the other pill wouldn't be effective here was due to Bai Zhongping's body. It's much more severe. Fifth-grade medicine? Compared to this never-before-heard-of Dan pill, the elder was more surprised by the girl instead. Though he himself may be a fifth-rank alchemist, but that's due to many years of effort and study. While on Bai Yan's side, she was no more than 20, an age not even half of the elder's. A 20-something fifth-rank alchemist. Is she trying to give me a heart attack? Bai Yan made a face like she won't be refused. His body is too weak. Unless I use something of that level, he won't be able to recover. Therefore, you must prepare over 10 portions. With that much material, I should be able to create 100 pills for him, more than enough until his body is fully recovered. Shuddering in his hands, the elder almost couldn't catch his breath. Miss Bai Yan, you say you can create 10 pills in one pot. Bai Yan frowned, perplexed by the question. At least 10 per pot. But just in case, I asked for a bigger portion as insurance. What? At least 10? Then what if there's extra? The elder almost couldn't keep his head together now due to the astonishing shock from the girl's statement. In his desperation, he had to keep reminding himself it must be a lie, an exaggeration. In truth, due to Bai Yan's closed-off living style at the Holy Island over the years, her interaction with other alchemists in this world were limited. Even if she did meet a few out on her travels after leaving the Bai house, the numbers wouldn't be very high, hence the reason why she's unaware of how high her own alchemy was. There shouldn't be that many as bad as her own 3 shifts, right? If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Music Valley's Mistress. 2. I can allow Bai Yan to become my side wife, however. Raising a smirk, Nangong Yi pauses before continuing. I won't allow her bastard child into my house. Bai Ruo too also raised an imperceptible smile at her husband's declaration. Husband, don't worry. I can assure you my sister will do it. She's a smart person. she will know what's best for her. Deet Song may be strong right now. Plus, she has the flower brothel in her hands, but neither of them can match up to our son's status. Our son is born under the worship of the animals in this world, making him destined to be extraordinary. Even it is Deet Song, the only future awaiting that man is kneeling before our son. A faint, sinister glow beams out of her eye. Like his wife, Nangong Yi's expression also improved somewhat. If she really is so smart, why did she refuse me and chose Deet Song instead? So what if Deet Song is powerful? In the future, this kingdom and the world will eventually be my son's. By then, I will have that man never be able to stand up again. Husband, making a faint chuckle, Bai Ruo puts on a confident face. That's because back then you didn't love her. If you simply pretend that you do, I'm sure she would fall into your arms at the slightest push. Humph, Bai Yen is indeed very clever. Unfortunately for her, such a futile approach in luring me is useless. I will never love her. If anything, the most I will do is covet her body and beauty. Love her? Never. Slowly exhaling a breath of relief, Bai Ruo only said all this because she was honestly worried her husband would fall heads over heels for that girl. My love, you get a good rest first. I will go deal with this matter. Caressing his wife's forehead to appease the woman, I promise you, once I have Bai Yen in my hands, I will give the flower brothel to you for management. Not wanting the man to think of her as the coveting and material type, Bai Ruo closes her eye to cover that joyful look. Instead, she puts on a soft, mellowing voice, Husband, I only care for you in this world. That flower brothel and whatever, I don't care for any of it. In this world, there's nothing better than a woman professing her love for you. Very moved by that statement, Nangong Yi tightly holds onto his wife's hand. My love, my promise will not change once it's given. Just wait, I will make you the mistress of the flower brothel. But my sister won't agree. Bai Ruo tightens her lip to make a helpless expression. Scoffing a laugh, Nangong Yi didn't think twice when answering. In this world, it's always the husband first. Once she's mine, the ownership of the flower brothel will naturally be in my hands. By then, what else can she say? After saying this, the man releases his wife and attempts to tidy up that strand of stray hair on the woman's head. I'll go write a letter to the Music Valley now. Just wait, I will have you and your sister reunited in no time. Haha. It's unsure if it's due to the illusion of himself getting the flower brothel soon, or due to the fact that he'll be able to possess that peerless woman, but his mood was twice as good as when he first came into the bedchamber. Not his daughter, watching her husband's departing back, Bai Ruo inexplicably tightened her hands into a fist until the nails had pierced the skin. Bai Yen, consider yourself lucky this time. After I take the Phoenix brothel from your hands, I won't let you live. As hypocritical as this woman was, she's not at the stage where she's willing to share her husband with the enemy. Inside the capital city inn, incessant coughing repeatedly rang out of a certain room here reserved for the most prestigious of their guests. Young master, I've finished investigating as per your command. The elder standing next to the patient respectfully reports, worried over the incessant coughing of his young lord. Oh. Pricking his brow, then what sort of background does that girl have? The old elder sneaks a glance before answering. Her mother is Lan Yue, the daughter of the Lan house in this city. As for her father, he's the current house chief of the Bai family. However, it's said that she's been expelled by her father recently. This translation is only hosted on Ka-translation frowning. The middle-aged man became doubtful. Are you sure that her mother is the lady of the Lan house, and that she isn't adopted? This information is definite, without fault. Young master, I believe the girl from yesterday is only similar to the young lady. They aren't necessarily related, the elder helplessly sighed. He too had wondered why there's someone so similar in appearance, but now it's obvious that the young lass wasn't related to their own missing lady. Maybe it's due to the bad news, but the coughing only got worse with every passing minute where the patient sounded like he's about to cough out his lungs. Do you know where the girl lives? Young master, you want to... The elder was a tad surprised, so he quickly followed up with a deep frown. Not minding the protesting look coming his way, the middle-aged man only smiled bitterly. I can't help it. Ever since I saw that girl, her face had been lingering in my mind, unable to disperse, no matter what. Even if she does have nothing to do with my sister, I still want to go see her. Keeping quiet for a brief moment, the elder decides to speak his mind anyways. Young master, your identity is very sensitive. If others were to learn of it, it's fine, I'm only going to meet her. There won't be any danger. Supporting himself with his hand, the patient appears to be struggling to climb out of the bed. Lead the way. Helpless in his demeanor, the elder can only do as instructed. Very well, young master. Please come with me. Logically speaking, he, as the loyal servant, should write a letter immediately to inform his old master of the situation. However, he fears the unkind truth might bring even more harm to everyone after what he witnessed in the past. Ugh. Seeing his young lord coughing again, the elder rushes back over to help only to be pushed away. I'm not so sick that I need someone to support me. If she sees me in that state, it won't be good. Gently wiping the trickle of blood from the corner of his mouth, the middle-aged man slowly walked for the doorway on his own. Just like that, 1 cough and 2 steps, they headed for the outside in this terrible state. The loyal elder really was hurting inside. As much as he wanted to stop this outrageous act of stubbornness, he too understands no one can stop the young lord when he's in this state. Together, they spent over 30 minutes to reach the old manor, which would normally take no more than half of that time for any old regular person. Who are you two, and what do you want? The 2 guards standing watch sternly yelled out this question at the sight of the strangers coming their way. Very displeased by the obstruction, the elder was ready to make an example of these impudent people when a hand stopped him. I am here to look for your mistress, Bai Yen. A business deal, too. With that said, he then turns back to Bai Yen with an open grin. Can I ask for your name? It's Bai Yen. Miss, your surname is Bai? Then Xiachen follows your name? W.A. and Jidichio was a bit surprised there. Under normal circumstances, Bai Xiachen should be following the father's name, not the mother's. Seeing W.A. and Jidichio's astonished reaction, Bai Yen raises a smirk and said, Is there something else? It's like this. Earlier I had learned from your son that you are in possession of some Dan pills.
Can you sell them to me?
I will pay however much you like. W.A. and Jidichio's eyes were glowing like a wolf staring at its prey, hungry and craving for meat. Pondering in silence for a moment, Bai Yen in the end responded, What grade are you looking for? 3rd grade or higher is enough. All right. I can provide you with anything below 5th grade. As to the price, I will have my people come negotiate with you. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation W.A. and Jidichio's heart had literally tensed up due to quick confirmation. At most, he only expected Bai Yen to provide him with some 3rd or 4th grade Dan pills, not some high-level stuff like some 5th grade. This is no different from a great surprise. Pricing is not an issue. May I know when you can provide me with the products and how much? The 3rd and 4th grade pills will be 100 each per month. As for the 5th grade ones, I will need you to provide the ingredients instead. As to the number, it will depend entirely on luck as to how much I can make. W.A.'s and Jidichio's eyes grew even brighter. She can make? Then doesn't that mean this Miss Bai Yen is a 5th rank alchemist? Okay, I'll leave all of that to your expertise. As for the payment, I'll be sure to make it fair for you. It's not his money that's being spent anyways, it's the main branch who's paying, meaning he can accept it no matter how high it goes. Not saying anything more, Bai Yen turns for her home. In a blink, her figure was gone from the W.A. and G family's view. Father, you are plotting something, aren't you? A greedy person like you would never be so easy to negotiate with. W.A. and Ji Xiaopeng looked puzzled at his old man. What nonsense are you saying? Huffing with displeasure at his son's accusation, remember those pills Xiachen gave you? I sent one of them to your grandfather. After its appraisal, the alchemists back at home said the effects are far superior to any other out there. That's why I never sold a single one of the pills that I confiscated. I offered them all to your grandfather, and was given explicit permission to purchase as many as I can. Showing a cheeky smile, Wang Jidichio was very confident about this deal. If he succeeds, it's likely he and his family will be able to return to the clan through these Dan pills. So that's why it's not your money. No wonder you are so quick to say yes. The chubby knocks a sneer, holding his father in contempt. There's no illusion in Wang Xiaoping's mind that his father was a profiteer of the highest level. No matter how small the deal, even a small purchase at the market, his old man would squeeze the opponent dry for all they had before he's satisfied. How can you say that about your old man? Since you won't be inheriting the main household anyways, why not take advantage of this fact and benefit ourselves and our friends in the process? Shooting his inconsiderate son a glare, the greedy man really wanted to give the kid another smack. This was his main purpose, to take a big cut out of the main family. He only left the main clan because he was forced to, not because he wanted to. As for why he had to, his older brother and nephew definitely had a hand in pushing for the outcome when they were down. Scratching his head, the chubby was still uncertain over his old man's plan. But will Grandpa agree? Ho-ho. Showing a devious smile, Wang Jidichio sounded very confident. I have already informed your grandfather ahead of time. I said the reason why these Dan pills are so good is because the alchemist in question had overspent their time in concocting this batch. Therefore, it's limited and can't meet demand. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Youngster Wenru won. When the time comes, he too will have the capital to make demands. Brat, you have to study these business tricks well. Even if you can't inherit the main family's fortune, you must at least be able to fend for yourself and not be butchered to death. Wang Dichio really wanted to smack his son again for being so lazy. If this kid could be even half as good as Xiachen, then I won't have Tori so much. I got it. The chubby gives a perfunctory nod. Next second, Wang Xiaoping had already dashed away for the door because he knew what his old man was planning to do next. Furthermore, this naughty kid didn't forget to stick his tongue out as his own form of retaliation. Grimacing at the brat's demeanor, Wang Dichio starts giving his son the chase. "You stinking brat, watch how I will beat your but silly this time." Back over at the old manor, Bai Yan was busy sipping away at her tea while waiting for her subordinate to arrive. This translation is only hosted on Ka-Translation, mistress. Is there something you need by calling for me? Hualuo, head of the flower brothel, makes a partial kneel after entering the main reception hall. I made a business deal with the Wang family from next door. Have Lady Chu go negotiate the terms with them. Yes, mistress. The enchanting woman respectfully complied. Oh yes, I wanted to ask you for a while now, how are the training for those alchemist goings? Lowering her teacup, Bai Yan softly asked. In this world, strength was most certainly important, but that's not all there was to it. Alchemists are also important in a different way. The powerful undoubtedly can take whatever they want with their sheer strength, but alchemists have their own means to get what they want. Even without a high level of cultivation, they can turn to other powerful individuals to ask for help if needed. That's why, starting from 3 years ago, Bai Yan had secretly gathered a group of alchemists for her own use. Just that due to her own busy lifestyle, she never once checked on their progress. Mistress, the alchemists we brought in have all made great improvements, with every single one of them reaching at least second rank. For those more talented, we now got 30 at the 3rd level and 9 at the 4th level. Then what about the 5th level? She asked with a frown. This, except for Wenru, no one else was able to achieve such results. Wenru was a person Bai Yan met along her journey 3 years ago. At the time the youngster was still arrogant and rude, therefore, the two quickly got into a conflict after they became interested in the same treasure. If martialists like to settle their scores by having a fighting match, it's only proper the alchemist profession would compete with their skills in alchemy. And that's precisely what the two did. After losing, Wenru had since sworn allegiance to Bai Yan. No one being able to break into the 5th level is within my expectations, but the number of 4th ranks are too low. How can there be only 9 people when we conscripted over 200 talented genius back then? Bai Yan's expression clearly didn't look so good as she slowly got up from her chair. Nervous in her tone, Hualuo knew her next words will only make the woman even unhappier. Nevertheless, she says it anyway out of loyalty. Of the 9 people, 5 of them were already at the 3rd level. In other words, 3 years of effort yielded nothing more than a 1-level increase. Hualuo, bring me to see those alchemists. I want to check for myself why this is happening. This certainly cannot go on. I must think of some way to help these people advance further as soon as possible. Inside the courtyard that's almost perennially covered in a smoky mist due to the constant use of the stoves, a large group of hard-working men were busy concocting their respective Dan pills with their cauldrons.
Ah!
A loud screaming cry suddenly broke the tranquility here. The reasoning for this was Bai Yan's unmerciful kick at the figure who attempted to charge her at the first moment she stepped through the doorway. Sprawled there with his arms and legs on the ground, the handsome boy known as Wenru puts on a pathetic look of grievance at his attacker. How come I can't see through your cultivation anymore? Don't tell me you made another breakthrough again? Aside from the alchemic contest they did 3 years ago, they also competed in their cultivation. The end result, a very miserable defeat that left him admitting defeat both physically and spiritually. Even so, he could still perceive the girl's cultivation. But now, he couldn't, like the woman was shrouded in a thick layer of mist. To heal you, 3, pausing in her words, Bai Yan made it look like her next question was unintentional. What about Deed Song? Lord Song, after moving his things over, he then left again by himself. The guard reports, careful in his tone to not offend the woman. Breaking out into an irritated laugh, it seems he have really taken my place as his own. No matter, once his estate is repaired, I will have him out of here immediately. As nice as that idea was, Bai Yan was still immature in these sort of things. For people like Deed Song, it's impossible to drive him away once he's in. With her questions out of the way, and nothing else to do for the next while, Bai Yan figured she might as well continue reading her book. Just like that, 1 woman and 1 awkward-looking elder waited silently in this pristine courtyard. Back outside at the city street, Wang Xiaopeng was busy gobbling up the delicious snacks in front of himself. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. I didn't expect the capital to have such delicious things around. It's even better than the big restaurants. Grinning, the chubby kid shoots a glance at Bai Xiachen, who's also busy watching his friend's insane ability to devour everything. Hey Xiachen, why aren't you introducing your new friend over there? Originally, Nangong Zhuan, bullied prince, was still amazed at why Wang Xiaopeng can eat so much, but upon hearing the question, his skinny little body quickly stiffened up. Subconsciously, he lowered his head due to low confidence. He's called Nangong Zhuan, someone I saved from being bullied inside the palace. Pointing at his new friend, Bai Xiachen puts on a bossy appearance. He will be under my protection from now on. If anyone dares to bully him, I will clobber them. If he's your brother, then he is my brother too. Jerking up from his chair, Wang Xiaopeng uses that chubby-looking hand filled with grease to pat the poor boy's shoulder. Don't worry, as long as you have me and Xiachen around, we will beat your enemies up for you. As if to meet that vow, Bai Xiachen suddenly points his finger at the background. Xiaopeng, your chance is here. You see that fat kid with the bunch of soldiers tailing him? He's the one who's been bullying him. Following the boy's line of view, the chubby kid soon caught sight of the mentioned group. Rude and pompous in their demeanor, these people are exactly like the way Bai Xiachen described them.
Holy!
There is actually someone fatter than me. Immediately pulling up his sleeves, Wang Xiaopeng looked like he's ready to go at it. It's bad enough he's fatter than me, but he's also bullying my friend. Just watch you two. I will show you how to properly teach a person not to mess with us. Leaving only these words behind, the chubby kid instantly shot out like a cannonball for Nangong Lin's bully prince location. Let's go. We will watch from the side. Pulling his new friend along, Bai Xiachen's eye was twinkling with delight at his enemy's misfortune. Startled there, Nangong Zhuan sounded hesitant. Isn't this sort of bad? He's not afraid of his enemy per se, he's afraid of Wang Xiaopeng getting into trouble for his sake. Just as Nangong Zhuan was still struggling to come to terms on what to do, Wang Xiaobeng had already pounced onto his target and knocked the fat bully to the ground. Using that greasy hand, he starts pummeling the frightened target, screaming for help. Royal grandson. The guards were all gripped with shock at the suddenness of it all. Just when they were ready to aid their lord, a spooky figure had already blocked their path. Aren't you people ashamed of yourself? A fight between two kids doesn't need the intervention of us adults. Knocking his small little head up, Bai Xiaochen seems to have forgotten something. He too was but a 5-year-old child. Little bully wants to tame a beast. 1. Twitching in the corner of his mouth, when Rue practically jolted backwards like it would make a difference. I was just joking.
Don't kid around.
What sort of place is the flower brothel? How can this woman be so cruel and make me go take customers there? Bai Yan's smile was very gentle. Rest assured, if you have needs, the flower brothel will always be open for you. But if you just want to be a customer for one of the girls, I can have Huoluo give you a discount instead. Embark, said by the T's, when Rue finally came out of his SHELL, when Huoluo shot him a tempting wink. Hey, Big Bai, you can't be so mean to me. At the very least, I'm still an innocent and pure boy. Don't you think it's too much dumping me into such a category? Too lazy to keep up with the nonsense, Bai Yan went ahead and tossed the book she prepared ahead of time for the boy. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. What is this? Nearly dropping it due to how sudden the act was, when Rue asks with confusion in his voice. It hasn't been very long since you grasped the secret behind the 5th level of alchemy. To help you refine your skills and help you get a firm grasp, I've written down all the key points you need to look out for. The information inside will undoubtedly raise your rate of success by many miles. Due to the intense excitement of the news, when Rue nearly dropped the book again because of how shaky his hands were. When did you become so good to me? The boy's appearance now was like a baby. Red in the cheeks, he was literally hugging the book like a child getting a new toy. Showing an unbelievable smile that could captivate thousands, Bai Yan didn't hide her motive. Your strength isn't enough right now. Only by increasing your alchemy and raising these people can you help me in what I want. Come Huoluo, we're leaving. No more than a few steps out, she suddenly turns around again. When Rue, if you want to come find me, then go look for Lan Xiaoyan, girl cousin of the Lan house inside the capital city. She knows where I live. With that said, the two enchanting figures were gone and out the door. The entire time, Huoluo was always showing her charming smile because she knew her mistress had a stubborn mouth but a soft heart. Don't assume Bai Yan was bad just because she likes to bully Wenru, but in actual fact, the girl had prepared the book long before her visit today for the boy. That's her form of caring for others. Though not always easy to spot, but it's there. With the precious book in his hand, Wenru too didn't have the heart to keep flirting with Bai Yan. Alone with his treasure, he returns to his room for a thorough reading and became very surprised to find all of his previous questions answered easily with the information he's been given. At this very same moment over at the Crown Prince's estate, an ear-deafening shriek for help was shaking the whole place apart. What happened? Because of her injury, Bai Ruo could only limp her way out of the room to check. In one look, she was horrified to find her son being chased around by a wild wolf. In this world, aside from demon beasts, there are also common animals like bears, wolves, and other predatory animals. Take this wolf for examples. It's nothing more than a regular wolf that was captured recently by Nangong Crown Prince on one of his hunting trips. Due to the ferocious nature of this one, the prince had specifically locked it up in a cage to slowly tame it, yet who would have guessed the fat bully would go unlock the animal from its cage? Mother save me. There were no illusions about the level of duress in that plea for help. Quick, go save my son. Bai Ruo could literally feel her heart jumping out of her body due to the intense pounding it was making. Following the order, one of the guards promptly took out his bow and knocked an arrow for the hungry wolf. Because of the sharp aim from this soldier, the arrow landed precisely at the wolf's eye, blinding it in the process and saving the child from being gobbled up in the nick of time. Not going to miss this chance, Nangong Lin, bully, swiftly ran behind his mother's leg for comfort and protection. Son, Why did you release your father's wolf from its cage? As soon as the scene from just now came up again, Bai Rua's complexion instantly took on an ashen white. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Little Bully wants to tame a beast. 2. Mother, they say the one who is worshipped by the animals must have the ability to tame the creatures. I want to tame this wolf to prove I am the most powerful person in the world. Hearing the aggrieved tone of her son, Bai Rua's voice promptly turned sharp. Who is it that told you these things? It's Bai Xiaoqin's little friend's parent. However, before the fat kid could finish the ending part of a sentence, the woman had already summed it's that rascal Bai Xiaoqin's fault. Huffing with clear anger in her rapid breathing, it took a rather long time before Bai Rua could return her gentle gaze back down to the child in her arms. Son, you must always remember that you are the most prestigious person in the world. That Bai Xiaoqin is only jealous of your status. That's why he's trying to manipulate you and confuse you. Despite the comforting words, the fat bully only looked up with his teary eyes. Then why did that wolf not listen to me? This translation is only hosted on Cat Translation. That's an ordinary wolf without any form of intellect. How can it possibly recognize you? Moreover, such a lowly existence isn't qualified to surrender to you. Remember, you are destined to control the world's demon beast. Only real demon beasts can understand how great your ident Tai is. But Bai Xiaoqin can order a lot of foxes at will. Nothing but. Bai Rua instantly cuts the boy off, her expression serious. Son, whether it be Nangong Zhuan or Bai Xiaoqin, all of them must live under the control of your will in the future. If you find the opportunity, you must end them in the most miserable way, understand? Who the hell is Bai Xiaoqin? How dare he compare himself to my son? He's not even qualified to wash my son's feet. I understand, mother. From the depressed and sulky attitude, the fat bully was now invigorated with a renewed enthusiasm. I will never let that Bai Xiaoqin and Nangong Zhuan get away with what they've done to me. Also, mother, I saw a little girl today. Can I make her my bed warming maid? How dare that chubby kid beat me? Then I will snatch his sister over to warm my bed. That's fine, Bai Rua laughed. This world will eventually be yours, so that girl should be thankful for your generosity. Tell me which household it is. I will have someone go over there and buy the girl for you. Going bright in his weasel eye, the fat bully was brimming with energy. Mother, it's not just the little girl. I also want her brother to become my slave. Okay, everything will be as you wish. In this city, there's only Deet Song who I wouldn't dare trifle with. Aside from that, who else would dare go against royal authority? Besides, isn't it just a little girl? If things don't go through, all I have to do is bring out a few Dan pills. By then I like to see the other parties still refuse the request. It was at this moment a palace maid came running over. Crown Princess, someone is requesting an audience. Slightly wrinkling her brow, Bai Rua asked, who is it? The person said they are from the Music Valley. Music Valley? Evoking a sinister smirk, finally, they are here. Quick, invite them into the reception hall. I will arrive in a moment. Yes, Crown Princess, making a respectful bow. The maid quickly disappears from Bai Rua's view. First making sure her son was well taken care of by the maids, Bai Rua then headed for the main hall herself. But due to the injury on her hind, the speed that she moved at was awfully slow despite being supported by several servants. Back over at the reception hall, a female character donning a gorgeous blue dress was already sitting in wait by the time Bai Rua arrived at the scene. Aside from those mountainous things in the front, everything about this person radiated a stunning presence. This was especially true with that face because that milky complexion looked like it could literally be milked if squeezed. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. This is my father? Relax, brother, patting his friend in reassurance. Wang Xiaopeng went ahead by himself like a prepared inmate heading off for the death road. But as soon as the kid stepped through his home's doorway, a powerful hand had stretched over to grab him by the ears. "Stinking brat, tell me, what sort trouble did you make outside today?" "Father, gentler, gentler." With a dead man's face, the chubby kid pleads for mercy. "I didn't make any trouble. I really didn't." "No trouble? If you didn't make trouble, then why did you beat up the crown prince's son?" Wang Deqiu, father, snapped back at his son's lie. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation Talk About Fast. Seriously, Wang Xiaoping didn't expect his father to catch wind of the news so quickly. "Father, it's that bastard's fault. He's the one doing the bullying. I only stepped in because I couldn't watch anymore." At that, the chubby kid puts on a grievance face, and "My friend Bai Xiachen also had a hand in this. If you don't believe me, ask him." Loosening his hand from the brat, Wang Deqiu suspiciously eyed his son. "Xiachen also had a hand?" "It's true. That bastard bullied Xiachen's friend. That's why I couldn't hold back." "Oh? If even Xiachen is involved, then it can't be wrong," giving a warning glare to his son. "In the future, you must follow his words. If he tells you to beat someone, then go beat them. If he tells you not to, then you mustn't, no matter what, understand?" Wang Xiaoping was flabbergasted at his old man's order. "Father, why is that I can only make a move when Xiachen tells me to? Can you promise that you won't hit me if I do?" Not answering right away, Wang Deqiu first gave his son a giant smack before continuing. "Xiachen is such a good child. If he's willing to beat another child, then it must be the other party's fault. As for you, you think everyone is like you, that will attack others indiscriminately? This is my own father?" The chubby here really had no tears left to cry. "Why do I feel like I am adopted?" "Father, then the matter with me hitting the crown prince's son?" Wang Xiaoping cautiously asked, afraid he might take another beating from his father. "Nothing but a son of a crown prince? So long as you didn't hit him wrong, then it's fine." Scoffing it off like it's nothing, Wang Deqiu then turned the topic back to his son. "If you were half as good as Xiachen, then we wouldn't have had to leave the clan, nor be forced to move to this place." Afraid his father wouldn't let him off once the ranting starts, Wang Xiaoping was smart enough to sneak away while the old man wasn't paying attention. By the time Wang Deqiu had come to his senses, that small chubby figure was already long gone. This brat, he really likes to be whacked. Back over at the old manor, Bai Yan was still busy reading her book in a leisurely manner, totally ignoring the unfriendly gaze shooting her way by the old elder. "Mother!" A soft mellowing voice drifted over from the rear. By the time Bai Yan looked up to search for her son, Bai Xiachen had already pounced into her arms to give the woman a heartwarming smooch on the cheek. "I'm back, mother. And guess who I brought with me? Nangong Zhuan." Pricking her brow, only then did Bai Yan notice the frail-looking kid quickly running over. Apparently Nangong Zhuan was still somewhat uncomfortable. A bit stiff, his eyes revealed a speck of envy at his friend's fortune. Mu Qing Song, 2. At the time Bai Ji also told our sister Bai Yan this matter, but who could have guessed she would impersonate our younger sister? And to make matters worse, she bewitched Lord Song into crippling our father. By the time Bai Ruo raised her head, those eyes were already streaming with tears to show how pitiful her image was. Originally, Mu Qing Song was a tad displeased to learn of her man being possessed by another woman, but since it's out of reluctance and trickery, her foul mood immediately dissipated. So long as that man is mine from here on forward, then it's fine. I can ignore his past and move for the future. I understand the story now. Tell me, where does that woman live? I will seek her out immediately. Mu Qing Song's expression was very ugly as she stood up. Okay, I will have my people lead your ladyship over. Bai Ruo thought she was smart here, deliberately omitting the part about the flower brothel, but it's just her own one-sided feeling. No, you only need to tell me her location, and that is enough. Sneering, the woman had no doubt about her own ability to win the man of her heart. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Going silent for a good second, Bai Ruo appears to have come up with another idea with those eyes she's showing. I don't know where Bai Yan currently lives. However, if you go to the lawn house inside the city, You will definitely be able to force her to appear. In reality, since the day Bai Zhengxiang discovered Bai Yan's relationship with a flower brothel, she had already learned of the old manor's existence. But simply having this wonderful chess piece complete one simple task wouldn't be very satisfying, would it? It's unsure what Mu Qing-song thought of that statement, but she didn't utter another word and immediately took her leave. But as soon as she stepped out of the main doorway, a woman in green promptly lands from behind the woman. Mistress, I believe that Bai Rua may not necessarily be telling the truth. Should I go investigate beforehand? Raising a smirk, Mu Qing-song will have none of it. Whether or not she's telling the truth, what does it matter? The fact still remains that the woman is seducing my man with her foxy ways. For that, no form of mercy shall be given. Nothing but a cheap wrench. In my music valley, there's plenty to go around. Let's go. We're heading to that lawn house. I will first deal with that cheap VITCH. Yes, mistress. Meanwhile, over at the lawn house, the occupants of the estate was busy smothering Bai Xiaochen with hugs and kisses after the boy made an unexpected visit. This was especially true for old Madame Lawn, who was practically strangling the poor boy. Oh, my good grandson, I missed you to death after you didn't visit for so many days. In the end, it was old Lord Lawn who came to save the day after not being able to watch on anymore. Coughing twice, he accusingly eyed his wife. Do you want to suffocate your own grandson at this rate? That's when the old granny discovered her own folly. Hurrying to let go, her face was all apologetic. Oh, child, why didn't you say anything if you were uncomfortable? How can I do that when Grandma you miss me so much? Bai Xiaochen's appearance was very well behaved, winning even more points from all the family. Sure enough, the wonderful reply only made the old grandma even more distressed. How can those people from the Bai house sell this wonderful child? They must be blind both inside and outside to do such a thing. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. He is a fifth-rank alchemist. The more he talked, the more the tears came rolling out of the elder. How many years has it been? For the young master's illness, the medicine sect had exhausted everything to only come out with nothing. But now, this girl was able to cure it with minimal effort. No matter what, she will forever be the benefactor of the whole medicine sect. Just that, can I ask what sort of method did your kitty use? A faint glow emanated out of the elder eye. We've tried many things over the years, but all had failed at what you did with ease. This, Bai Yan's expression became a little awkward. That's difficult to say. Startled. The answer was honestly outside of the elder's expectation because the girl only had to say no instead of saying it in such a roundabout way. This translation is only hosted on Ka-Translation, Young Master. Since Bai Yan wouldn't tell him, he can only turn around for the patient instead. Like Bai Yan, the sick man also showed a somewhat awkward expression. I don't know either. When I got into the room, the next thing I knew was that I fainted away. By the time I awoke, the wisp of energy inside my body was gone. Now the situation only got more awkward. Showing an embarrassed glow on her cheeks, Bai Yan only didn't want to explain the procedure because she knew the man would refuse if she did. That's why she gave the wink to Little Rice when they left. It's to tell the tiger cub what to do. That's so. The elder appeared disappointed. Because of this reason, he seems to have misjudged Bai Yan as not wanting to reveal the secret instead of just being embarrassed. No matter though, what's important to him was his young master's health, so everything else can step aside. I have here a written prescription. Rummaging through her pocket, Bai Yan finally found the paper she had prepared earlier. By the items on the list for me. It's to help your young master's health. His physical body hasn't recovered yet, so he needs some pills to aid him. Shocked by those words, the elder immediately spread open the folded paper to be completely surprised by the content. Frowning, he was perplexed by the recipe. There are numerous alchemists in the medicine sect, plus he too was a fifth-grade alchemist, but never had he seen such a combination of ingredients. Miss Bai Yan, what kind of medicine are you trying to concoct? A fifth-grade vitality rejuvenation pill. Vitality rejuvenation pill? was the byproduct of her research in improving the biorestoration Dan pill used by old Lord Lon back when the grandpa was ill. The reason why the other pill wouldn't be effective here was due to Bai Zhongping's body. It's much more severe. 5th grade medicine? Compared to this never-before-heard-of Dan pill, the elder was more surprised by the girl instead. Though he himself may be a 5th-rank alchemist, but that's due to many years of effort and study. While on Bai Yan's side, she was no more than 20, an age not even half of the elders. A 20-something 5th-rank alchemist, is she trying to give me a heart attack? Bai Yan made a face like she won't be refused. His body is too weak. Unless I use something of that level, he won't be able to recover. Therefore, you must prepare over 10 portions. With that much material, I should be able to create 100 pills for him. More than enough until his body is fully recovered. Shuddering in his hands, the elder almost couldn't catch his breath. Miss Bai Yan, you say you can create 10 pills in one pot? Bai Yan frowned, perplexed by the question. At least 10 per pot. But just in case, I asked for a bigger portion as insurance. What? At least 10? Then what if there's extra? The elder almost couldn't keep his head together now due to the astonishing shock from the girl's statement. In his desperation, he had to keep reminding himself it must be a lie, an exaggeration. In truth, due to Bai Yan's closed-off living style at the Holy Island over the years, her interaction with other alchemists in this world were limited. Even if she did meet a few out on her travels after leaving the Bai house, the numbers wouldn't be very high, hence the reason why she's unaware of how high her own alchemy was. There shouldn't be that many as bad as her own 3 shifts, right? Almost exposed, too. Who are you? While the Lon family was still unsure why the woman was looking for Bai Yan, they suddenly noticed the loathsome look directed at Bai Xiaochen from the person. Little Xiaochen. In her haste, Lan Xiaoyan swiftly dragged the boy behind herself to shield her nephew. Auntie, you don't have to worry about me. Patting the girl like a big adult, Bai Xiaochen actively pulled his head back out to face the intruder. Is there something you need in looking for my mother? You are Bai Yan's son? Mu Qing Song snickered a laugh. No wonder I don't like him at first glance. Turns out to be the wild child of that warehouse O.R.E. Understanding now the person might not be coming with good intent, old Lord Lon quickly casts a signaling glance at Dong Ruolin, Bai Yan's aunt, to go look for her husband for help. Understanding this, the woman immediately nodded and retreated away. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation, this lady. Shifting his gaze back over to Mu Qing Song, old Lord Lan's voice was indifferent and somewhat cold. If you are here to visit as a guest, then I'd be happy to welcome you. However, if you are here with malicious intent, I fear that my home isn't fit to entertain you. This time it wasn't Mu Qing Song who spoke, it was the woman in green behind her who stepped forward, snapping back with a harsh and stern tone. Who do you think you are to talk to my mistress like that? Hurry, and have that Bai Yan crawl out here before we make her. If they still had to guess the intent of these women before, now they don't because it's pretty obvious they are not friendly. This grandmother. Seeing the rudeness from the green woman, Bai Xiaochen finally showed a touch of anger in his cute little face. Did your parents not teach you to respect the old and love the young? My mother had always taught me that's the proper way to interact with people. Are you not ashamed? Flaring with fire in her eyes, the woman in green instantly disappeared and reappeared in front of the kid. Raising her hand, she was ready to give Bai Xiaochen a good slapping. Careful, Xiaochen. In her panic, Lan Xiaoyan could only react fast enough to use her body to cover the boy, leaving herself wide open for attack. Bai Xiaochen's expression was getting colder and colder as he focused in on that hand. However bloodthirsty, however frightening, no one was going to notice his drastic change in appearance though. The reasoning, because a very unfitting cat-like cry suddenly broke the tense atmosphere. Meows. Pouncing with fury and deadly precision, Little Rice held nothing back in his onslaught of swipes. In merely a few short seconds, the woman in green had fallen into a state of blood and disarray. Little Rice. Seeing the intervention of his friend, Bai Xiaochen immediately broke out of the girl's embrace and toddled over to the baby tiger. How come you are here? He whispered with a tinge of surprise in his voice. Mistress is afraid of you causing trouble outside. That's why I was tasked to follow you. Like the boy, the tiger also lowered his voice into a whisper. Also, did Mistress say you can't make a move outside? Otherwise you're ident. Tai will be discovered soon or later. Bai Xiachen can't be called a complete demon beast, only a half-human, half-beast hybrid. However, the boy's ability and power was far stronger than any purebred demon beast out there, hence the reason why Bai Yan would forbid her son from revealing this secret. She's afraid evildoers would target the kid while she's not aware. Lowering his little head, Bai Xiachen sounded rather defeated. I was only trying to help my auntie. I didn't want her to be hit. Good thing little Rice came, otherwise I would be exposed today. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. A Business Deal 1. The fat bully was too stunned for words. Unable to do a thing, he can only watch the guards he brought along be knocked over to the ground one after the other. Noticing the gaze directed at himself from Wang Diqiu, father, the fat bully quickly lost all form of arrogance and began to stutter. My father is the crown prince. I don't care if your father is the prince or the king. If he can't teach you properly, then I will do their job for them. In one sweep of his feet, the enraged man makes a stomp right onto the boy's chest. These people really take me for a pushover. How dare they come into my home and hit my son? I will show them what it means to mess with me. Bursting out into tears, the fat bully starts sobbing with all his might. My father said I'm the most prestigious person in this world because the animals bowed before me when I was born. You hit me. My father will definitely feed you to the dogs for that. Sneering at the threat, Wang Diqiu's only reaction was a couple of slaps after dragging the kid up into the air. This translation is only hosted on Cat Translation. Try crying again, and I will toss you into the forest to feed the animals there. Shivering at the threat, the fat bully instantly ceased his sobbing. With a frightened face, Nangong Lin felt like he was facing a monster. What is master of the animals? You think I be dumb enough to be fooled? Go tame a demon beast for me to see then.
Come on, go.
These people are truly too ignorant. Merely one rumor, and they're all heads over heels for it. Now scram. Get out of my face. First tossing the fat bully out of his estate, Wang Diqiu then casts a warning glare at the sprawling soldiers pretending to be dead. In the face of that intense stare, these poor men could only scramble for the door with their lord in hand. At the very same time, Bai Yan was currently giving off a half-hearted smile as she watched the whole thing unfold with her body leaning against the doorway. Since her help was no longer needed here, she figured it's time she went home. Miss, suddenly, an addressing voice came from behind, causing her to stop in her footsteps. Is something the matter? Bai Yan asked. Miss, you are Bai Xiachen's mother, right? Despite his effort to show off a welcoming smile, it only came out as deceitful and conniving, like someone facing a piece of fat pork ready to be consumed. Unconsciously, Bai Yan found herself taking a step back like a frightened doll. You know me? Haha, Xiachen said it long ago that his mother is the most beautiful woman in the world. Since I saw you coming out from the next door, I took a guess and figured you must be her. Making a hearty laugh, Wang Diqiu swiftly snatched his son over without minding the chubby kid's own feeling. Come on, hurry, and say hello. Like his father, Wang Xiaoping's welcoming laugh somehow turned into a perverted chuckle. Beautiful auntie, I am very pleased to meet you. Following her brother's lead, Wang Xiaodong also chimed in to greet Bai Yan. Hello, beautiful auntie. She is Bai Xiachen's mother. She really looks beautiful. The most beautiful person I've seen yet. I only came out to check on the commotion, nothing more. Since all of you are fine, I will be going back first. Her eyes were clearly softer at the sight of the children. If you two have time, please come to my home and find my son. He really likes playing with you too. The chubby boy was glowing in his eyes. All this while, it had always been Bai Xiachen coming over to their home and not the other way around. Remember not to make trouble for your auntie there if you visit, understand? Making a knock on his son's head, Wang Diqiu didn't forget to warn his son like a proper father would. Bai Yan is here, too, meow. There were no delays in Little Rice's action after the boy's order came out. In a flash, those razor-sharp claws had already brushed across the green woman's face, thus wounding the other half to make it whole. Ah, she screamed and flew a punch at the baby cub in front of her. Sadly for the woman, her attack came out with nothing due to the tiger cub's dexterous speed. In a quick somersault, Little Rice had retreated back to a safe location in the hall, leaving the woman unable to get a good hold on him. Licking his bloodied paw, he mocks his victim with that provocative gaze. "I'm going to kill you," bloodshot in her eyes. The woman in green didn't care anymore and wanted to rush over to exert her full might. But before she can do anything, a delicate arm had stretched over to stop her. This translation is only hosted on Cat Translation. Jade Shi, stop this. Dark in her expression, Mu Qing Song eyes the little white kitty with a newfound respect. "It seems I've underestimated you. I can see now you are no ordinary demon beast. Let me guess, your strength should be at least in the sky rank, am I correct?" Jade Shi's own power is at the lower level of the sky rank. If this little white kitty can hurt her without suffering any damage, then that can only mean he's also at the sky rank. Maybe even at the intermediate level. In a time like this, Mu Qing Song seems to have made another mistake. When she threw out that question, she was careless and missed that flash of contempt in the tiger cub's eye due to her diverted attention. Sky rank. Old Lord Lon and the others were all shocked by the statement. Watching the little white kitty on the ground that looked absolutely harmless, they only had this in mind. This greedy little glutton is a sky rank demon beast? I forbid you from talking ill of Annie Hualuo. The little steam bun's face was full of anger at the insult made here today. Unlike the hypocritical people like you two, she's way better. This time Mu Qing Song was rather calm in her response. Not saying a word, she only frowned upon the little kid with a constant glimmer of light emulating out of her eyes. "Mother!" Just as the mood in the air was falling into a stranglehold, Bai Xiaqin's delighted voice suddenly shattered it with this call. Turning around like a reflex reaction, Mu Qing Song finally saw it. Finally saw Bai Yan's appearance for the first time ever. In that instant, even her breathing had come to a halt. Glorious in her coat of red, the woman coming in was so stunning that even the world would pale in comparison. This was Bai Yan, the very same one who was held in contempt just moments ago by these intruders. Prior to this meeting, Mu Qing Song had great confidence in her own appearance. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been so arrogant to think Di Song would abandon this woman for herself. But now, she too understands why that man in her dreams would choose her. From the initial astonishment, her thoughts soon turned into jealousy and envy. I don't even need to guess, it's because of that face. That's why Di Song would take her. Perhaps they've already had skinship and such. Just thinking about the possibility of this woman roughing around in bed with her man, Mu Qing Song's heart would instantly tense up. "So you are Bai Yan." She gently exhaled to recompose herself. "Grandfather, grandmother, what happened?" Bai Yan didn't stop for the intruder in front. Instead, she directly stepped over to her family's side to inquire about the situation. Exhaling a sigh of relief, old Lord Lon finally felt at ease at his granddaughter's arrival. "How come you came alone? Just now I had your aunt go seek Lord Song for help. Why didn't he come with you?" Bai Yan frowned. "I didn't see her on the way here, but whether or not Di Song comes or not, the ending will be the same." "Cousin!" Dashing over at the sight of her cousin, Lon Xiaoyan nearly broke out into tears because she was so afraid just now. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Youngster Wenru won. When the time comes, he too will have the capital to make demands. Brat, you have to study these business tricks well. Even if you can't inherit the main family's fortune, you must at least be able to fend for yourself and not be butchered to death. Wang Diqiu really wanted to smack his son again for being so lazy. If this kid could be even half as good as Xiaqin, then I won't have to worry so much. I got it. The chubby gives a perfunctory nod. Next second, Wang Xiaoping had already dashed away for the door because he knew what his old man was planning to do next. Furthermore, this naughty kid didn't forget to stick his tongue out as his own form of retaliation. Grimacing at the brat's demeanor, Wang Diqiu starts giving his son the chase. "You stinking brat, watch how I will beat your butt silly this time." Back over at the old manor, Bai Yan was busy sipping away at her tea while waiting for her subordinate to arrive. This translation is only hosted on Ka-Translation, mistress. Is there something you need by calling for me? Hualuo, head of the flower brothel, makes a partial kneel after entering the main reception hall. "I made a business deal with the Wang family from next door. Have Lady Chu go negotiate the terms with them." "Yes, mistress." The enchanting woman respectfully complied. "Oh yes, I wanted to ask you for a while now, how are the training for those alchemists going?" Lowering her teacup, Bai Yan softly asked. In this world, strength was most certainly important, but that's not all there was to it. Alchemists are also important in a different way. The powerful undoubtedly can take whatever they want with their sheer strength, but alchemists have their own means to get what they want. Even without a high level of cultivation, they can turn to other powerful individuals to ask for help if needed. That's why, starting from 3 years ago, Bai Yan had secretly gathered a group of alchemists for her own use. Just that due to her own busy lifestyle, she never once checked on their progress. "Mistress, the alchemists we brought in have all made great improvements, with every single one of them reaching at least second rank. For those more talented, we now got 30 at the 3rd level and 9 at the 4th level." "Then what about the 5th level?" she asked with a frown. Except for Wenru, no one else was able to achieve such results. Wenru was a person Bai Yan met along her journey 3 years ago. At the time the youngster was still arrogant and rude, therefore, the two quickly got into a conflict after they became interested in the same treasure. If martialists like to settle their scores by having a fighting match, it's only proper the alchemist profession would compete with their skills in alchemy. And that's precisely what the two did. After losing, Wenru had since sworn allegiance to Bai Yan. "No one being able to break into the 5th level is within my expectations, but the number of 4th ranks are too low. How can there be only 9 people when we conscripted over 200 talented genius back then?" Bai Yan's expression clearly didn't look so good as she slowly got up from her chair. Nervous in her tone, Hualuo knew her next words will only make the woman even unhappier. Nevertheless, she says it anyway out of loyalty. Of the 9 people, 5 of them were already at the 3rd level. In other words, 3 years of effort yielded nothing more than a 1-level increase. "Hualuo, bring me to see those alchemists. I want to check for myself why this is happening. This certainly cannot go on. I must think of some way to help these people advance further, as soon as possible." Inside the courtyard that's almost perennially covered in a smoky mist due to the constant use of the stoves, a large group of hard-working men were busy concocting their respective Dan pills with their cauldrons.
Ah!
A loud screaming cry suddenly broke the tranquility here. The reasoning for this was Bai Yan's unmerciful kick at the figure who attempted to charge her at the first moment she stepped through the doorway. Sprawled there with his arms and legs on the ground, the handsome boy known as Wenru puts on a pathetic look of grievance at his attacker. "How come I can't see through your cultivation anymore? Don't tell me. You made another breakthrough again?" Aside from the alchemic contests they did 3 years ago, they also competed in their cultivation. The end result, a very miserable defeat that left him admitting defeat both physically and spiritually. Even so, he could still perceive the girl's cultivation. But now, he couldn't, like the woman was shrouded in a thick layer of mist. Bai Yan is here for, perhaps it was due to her running the entire way, but the woman was panting for air as soon as she started to slow down. "Song, where is Lord Song?" Dong Rulin wanted to get closer to make her voice clearer. Sadly, her legs simply won't budge anymore due to how fatigued they were. The overseeing guard became startled. Hesitant in his tone, His Highness is currently away due to an urgent matter. "I don't know where he is either. Madame Lan, why don't you try Miss Bai Yan's place? The Lord have been living there for the past few days." Bitter in her smile, Dong Rulin shook her head rapidly. I just came from that side. Is there a way you can contact Lord Song? That woman is obviously coming with ill intent. I must find Lord Song to help. Please wait, Madame Lawn. I will pass the message to my lord immediately. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Seeing how anxious the woman was in her demeanor, the guard knew it must be urgent. Without hesitating, he immediately pulled out a flare container and ignited the bottom. Next second, a radiant glow of piercing red had illuminated the sky. Inside the dense forest outside the capital city, two men was currently standing there unmoved. The one in front would of course be Di Song, while the other standing behind him was the man that had transformed into the flaming bird from before. My king, I've only managed to trace the princesses sent to this place. After that I can no longer follow the trail. Then did you manage to locate that woman from the snake tribe? His voice was gloomy, frightening the man behind even more. Subordinate is useless. I still haven't located her yet. As soon as his words came forward, the one known as Fire Plume can clearly feel his lord's aura growing more and more intense to the point where he had trouble breathing. Continuing like this for well over a minute, the oppression finally dispersed. Continue to investigate. Yes, King. He can finally exhale a sigh of relief. Because of how frightening his king's aura was, he estimates only the future queen would have the ability to tame that tyrannical power. Then, without indication, Ditsong's aura suddenly grew heavier again. The message flare I left behind has been detonated. A messenger flare have a lot of uses. The main one was to inform the original owner of danger by igniting it and releasing the infused spiritual energy stored inside. This would alarm the creator no matter where they are, so long as a barrier wasn't in place. However, he also mentioned to his men that only matters related to Bai Yan would they be allowed to ignite the flare. If it was any other ordinary matters, it was of no concern. King, is it the Queen's? Fire Plume raised his head as a flash of sympathy flowed out of his eyes. Someone else is going to be screwed again. You continue to search for her whereabouts. Dropping this order down, Ditsong's silvery and purplish figure was gone from view, leaving behind the still somewhat nervous man in the background. Finally, after a good minute of this awkward silence, the one known as Fire Plume also started to leave. Transforming from his human appearance, the person turns into a huge flaming bird that radiated searing heat to all of its surroundings. Not quite a true phoenix, only a descendant with a stronger bloodline than usual. At this very moment, back over at the lawn house, Bai Yan was facing off again Mu Qing Song with that peerless smile of hers. Since you have already decided, then I won't waste my words. Why don't you state why you are here instead? Mu Qing Song was practically seething with frost in her words. I had only wanted to test you today. The loser was only to leave Di Song forever, but after witnessing what you've done to my people, I can't exactly let it end so easily anymore. Crossing her arms under her breasts, Bai Yan's smile grew even bigger. With you only? Talk about arrogant to the extreme. This naturally left Mu Qing Song extremely displeased in her expression. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release, or simply turning off adblock helps too. Spoiling her 2 years earlier, I have already heard of Hualuo recognizing a new master. Just that I never managed to learn who it was. Snickering a sneer, Mu Qing Song was no longer holding back her contempt. To think it would be you. And I know that you are also an alchemist. I'm not surprised you like that would recognize you for some measly Dan pill, but don't think for a second that you can go up against me just because you have her behind your back. Despite her indifferent attitude, that arrogant tone cannot be hidden, like she's watching a person that's already dead. Have I ever said I need to rely on Hualuo's power? Bai Yan's brilliant smile was like a thorn, piercing straight in her foe's heart and bleeding it. Nothing but a bead of insignificant rice. How dare you compare yourself to the radiant sun and moon? Bai Yan, I will let you understand where you stand in this world. Prepare yourself. Without another word, Mu Qing Song had unsheathed her sword to take aim at Bai Yan's throat. I've gave you the opportunity. It's you who didn't cherish it. This translation is only hosted on Translation. Dancing with precision and finesse, her whole figure had practically transformed into the sword as it grazed against the wind, raising an ear-piercing cry in the process. Oh, C-R-A-P, it's over. Just as old Lord Lon and the rest are panicking due to the tense situation, Bai Xiachen suddenly throws a bomb into the fire by issuing this sentence. Perhaps it's due to the boy's careless comment, but old Madame Lon was clearly very shaken by it. Unable to hold her posture, the poor grandmother starts falling backwards with her trembling hand reaching out as if she's trying to stop the fight. Quickly, someone go save my precious granddaughter. Good thing old Lord Lon was fast in his reaction. Catching his wife, he hurriedly turns to the stupefied Lon Xiaoyan nearby. Quickly, girl, come hold your grandmother while I go help your cousin. Okay. Controlling herself after realizing how dumb she was acting, Lon Xiaoyan literally pounced over to receive her grandmother. Biting her lips, she can see Bai Yan was already hard at battle with Mu Qing-song. However good their intents were, the group appears to have misunderstood the little boy's meaning. Great-grandfather, what are you doing? Bai Xiachen toddled over and asked. Of course it's to help your mother. No one can kill my granddaughter in my own turf. Clenching his fist until the veins were popping, old Lord Lon didn't look down as he continued to step forward for the impending battle. Blinking innocently at the reply, Bai Xiachen appears to be struggling in his face. But my mother doesn't like it when someone interferes with her fighting. Slowing down but not stopping, old Lord Lon was firm in his expression. Even you said your mother is done for. How can I just sit and watch? I don't care what rules she has for when she's fighting. I only know I can't stand by and watch while she gets killed in front of my eyes. As soon as his remark came forward, Bai Xiachen immediately showed a flash of surprise on his cute little face.
But
I wasn't talking about mother. I was referring to that bad woman. Jerking to a halt, only now does the old grandfather started to pay closer attention to the fighting in front.
boom.
Following this explosive noise, Bai Yan's dexterous finger had clipped onto Mu Qing-song's sword. With a tiny flex of her powers, she brutishly infused her own energy into the enemy's weapon and shattered it into pieces. Stunned by the abrupt change in their stance, Mu Qing-song had trouble believing her eyes. The sword was forged by the best yuan iron out there. When did it become so useless? If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Little Bully wants to tame a beast. 2. Mother, they say the one who is worshipped by the animals must have the ability to tame the creatures. I want to tame this wolf to prove I am the most powerful person in the world. Hearing the aggrieved tone of her son, Bai Rua's voice promptly turned sharp. Who is it that told you these things? It's Bai Xiachen's little friend's parent. However, before the fat kid could finish the ending part of his sentence, the woman had already assumed it's that rascal Bai Xiachen's fault. Huffing with clear anger in her rapid breathing, it took a rather long time before Bai Rua could return her gentle gaze back down to the child in her arms. Son, you must always remember that you are the most prestigious person in the world. That Bai Xiachen is only jealous of your status. That's why he's trying to manipulate you and confuse you. Despite the comforting words, the fat bully only looked up with his teary eyes. Then why did that wolf not listen to me? This translation is only hosted on Translation. That's an ordinary wolf without any form of intellect. How can it possibly recognize you? Moreover, such a lowly existence isn't qualified to surrender to you. Remember, you are destined to control the world's demon beast. Only real demon beasts can understand how great your identity is.
But
Bai Xiachen can order a lot of foxes at will. Nothing but. Bai Rua instantly cuts the boy off, her expression serious. Son, whether it be Nangong Zhuan or Bai Xiachen, all of them must live under the control of your will in the future. If you find the opportunity, you must end them in the most miserable way, understand? Who the hell is Bai Xiachen? How dare he compare himself to my son? He's not even qualified to wash my son's feet. I understand, mother. From the depressed and sulky attitude, the fat bully was now invigorated with a renewed enthusiasm. I will never let that Bai Xiachen and Nangong Zhuan get away with what they've done to me. Also, mother, I saw a little girl today. Can I make her my bed-warming maid? How dare that chubby kid beat me? Then I will snatch his sister over to warm my bed. That's fine. Bai Ruo laughed. This world will eventually be yours, so that girl should be thankful for your generosity. Tell me which household it is. I will have someone go over there and buy the girl for you. Going bright in his weasel eye, the fat bully was brimming with energy. Mother, it's not just the little girl. I also want her brother to become my slave. Okay, everything will be as you wish. In this city, there's only Di Song who I wouldn't dare trifle with. Aside from that, who else would dare go against royal authority? Besides, isn't it just a little girl? If things don't go through, all I have to do is bring out a few Dan pills. By then, I like to see the other parties still refuse the request. It was at this moment a palace maid came running over. Crown Princess, someone is requesting an audience. Slightly wrinkling her brow, Bai Ruo asked, who is it? The person said they are from the Music Valley. Music Valley? Evoking a sinister smirk, finally, they are here. Quick, invite them into the reception hall. I will arrive in a moment. Yes, Crown Princess, making a respectful bow, the maid quickly disappears from Bai Ruo's view. First making sure her son was well taken care of by the maids, Bai Ruo then headed for the main hall herself. But due to the injury on her hind, the speed that she moved at was awfully slow despite being supported by several servants. Back over at the reception hall, a female character donning a gorgeous blue dress was already sitting in wait by the time Bai Ruo arrived at the scene. Aside from those mountainous things in the front, everything about this person radiated a stunning presence. This was especially true with that face because that milky complexion looked like it could literally be milked if squeezed. Chapter 219, Spoiling Her. 3. Mu Qing-song's expression was getting whiter and white. At least we won't lower ourselves to using our bodies to service another man. The Music Valley and Flower Brothel are often compared together because of their large number of female members in their mix. While the Music Valley would always be praised for their clean reputation, the Flower Brothel would usually be detested as an organization for the dirty and unwanted. You say you won't lower yourself to servicing a man, We will see how much of that claim is true then. How about this? I will abolish your cultivation and have you take customers at the Flower Brothel. This way you can experience it firsthand. A touch of laughter was emulating out of Bai Yan's eye. This Mu Qing song is so beautiful, coupled with her ident. Tai as the mistress of the Music Valley, using her to pick up customers will surely make a fortune. No. Staggering backwards, Mu Qing-song's expression became even paler till all color had left her face. Are you not afraid of Di Song finding out? If he sees your true face, he will surely cast you aside. This translation is only hosted on Cat-Translation right after her words came out. A cool and drafty voice blew in, causing Bai Yan's face to go dark. What can I know? Shuddering at the question, Mu Qing-song promptly turned around to seek that surreal figure. Magnificent to the point where she can almost feel her lungs suffocating, it was only a few months ago that this man made her sick with love. With her heart pounding until it hurts, she wanted oh so much to fall into those arms to gain some warmth.
But
instead of pulling her in like she wanted, Di Song had completely said her, never once casting so much as a glance her way. Who is it this time that made you angry? Soft and tender, Di Song teasingly asks with that seductive voice. Tossing the Guqin aside like it's a piece of garbage, Bai Yan on the other hand wasn't so friendly. Grabbing that collar, her smile was both threatening and dangerous. Your rotten love admirers are here again. If not for me making it in time, the lawn house would have fallen in danger because of you. I warn you, if anything happens to my family, I will never let you go. Casting a glance at the collar being grabbed by his woman, Di Song was rather pleased instead of getting upset. And how do you want to not let me go? In bed? Or we can try something more exciting like in the air. or water instead. Deet Song? Seriously, why does this man always revolve around getting me in bed with him? Arg, does all he think about is trying to slip into my body? First easing the incredible amount of stuffiness in her chest, Bai Yan then went back to dealing with this man. I will run away with your son and not let you find us. Old Lord Lon and the rest had only recovered from their initial scare, now to be cast in front of Deet Song's ever-growing torrent of gloominess. They desperately needed a break, lest they lose their minds. Hurrying to signal Bai Yan with a wink, old Lord Lon was practically pleading his granddaughter with his look. Child, I think this matter is not Lord Song's fault. He seems very sincere about you, so you mustn't get upset. Silent and unyielding, Bai Yan only faced the man in front of her like she's trying to see through that person to ses the truth. Bai Yan, you are spoiled with arrogance. Sneering, Mu Qing Song also sensed the anger in Deet Song's body. You don't even know how to cherish your man. If it was me, I would never make him angry. Boom. Before the foolish woman can continue on with her rambling, a raging torrent had swept out from Deet Song's sleeve, pounding in against his target and sending the yappa mouth flying out of the hall. Chapter 220, Spoiling Her 4. Deet Song Yu, raising her ashen face to confront that overbearing man. Not a word could come forward anymore. The Music Valley no longer exists from this day forward. With only that order, the fate of the Music Valley was sealed. Puking another mouthful of blood, her horrified face only had shock left in there. Why? You still asking me why? My wife nearly ran away with my child because of you. The dreaded frost from his smile only added to his charm for some reason. Shuddering at the man's remark, Mu Qing Song struggled to upright herself from the ground. You are that certain the child is yours? Did you test your blood with his? As if I wouldn't be able to recognize my own son. Do you take me for an idiot, or are you that much of an idiot yourself? The murderous intent was now in full bloom around Deet Song's figure. This translation is only hosted on Ka-translation in this moment. Mu Qing Song didn't care about her own physical pain, nor did she care what the others thought of her. All she knows was that her heart was hurting like it's being crushed until it's nothing but a pile of mush. Don't you realize that she's a vicious woman? The flower brothel is a place of womanizing, yet she still wants to cripple me and send me there. Such a woman is qualified to be your wife? No matter how vicious she is, I am here to protect her. Furthermore, clicking his tongue, Deet Song didn't hide his contempt for the woman. I'm rather fond of Yan Yan's idea. I agree. Let's send you to the flower brothel to take customers. That should be adequate for making my wife angry. Shuddering at the statement, the helpless woman could hardly believe her own ears. What did you say? He wants to send me to the flower brothel? How can he be so cruel to me? PFF. Following a piercing white light that shot straight into Mu Qing Song's body, her dantian finally shattered into a million pieces. I never thought the man that I've been searching after so long would be this heartless to me. She's not wrong to pursue love. What she did wrong was to pursue her love on Deet Song, someone she never should have eyed for in the first place. But then, just the thought of Bai Yan being protected so tightly by that man, an unbridled fury would erupt out of her heart. Send her to the flower brothel. Cold and indifferent, Deet Song gives the command for the guards to come out of hiding. Yes, Your Highness. Respectful in their tones, the men worked quickly and dragged the now crippled woman away. Without bothering to give Mu Qing Song another glance, Deet Song turns back to Bai Yan, who is still very upset with him. Do you need something else? She retreats as the man got closer, creating an awkward scene almost akin to a cat and mouse game. Going gloomy again at the reaction of the girl, he questions her. Do you really intend to take my son away with you? I was just kidding. But I don't like that sort of joke. Disregarding the focused gaze from everyone around them, Deet Song forcefully pushes her against the nearby tree and takes a hearty bite of her lip. If there's a next time, I will directly take you to my bed with no mercy shown. Bai Yan's face had gone completely black. Can you control yourself? People are watching. So, you know how to be scared too? Let's see how you will threaten me again in the future. With his eyes narrowed into an evil slit, he didn't forget to take advantage of the situation to get some more skinship. A humph. Making a embark. Said Cough to bring the two back to reality. Old Lord Lon hurries to wink at the dumbfounded Lon Xiaoyan. What are you still dazing around for? Your grandmother suffered quite the scare there. Hurry and go help her inside, so she can rest. I still need to go look for my old friend to drink tea. Indeed, old Madame Lon did receive quite the scare today, but it wasn't all for Mu Qing Song. Bai Yan and Di Song's intimate act here also had a hand in it. Spoiling her. 5. First was the fact that her precious granddaughter was able to demonstrate a power at the monarch level. It must be mentioned that their Lu Hui kingdom only has a king-rank master as its strongest protector. So, for the girl to reach a level superior to that in a few short years, how can she not be frightened with shock? Then behold, before her heart could come to terms with the explosive news, Di Song's tyrannical aura takes another whack at her already dissipating soul. All in all, old Madame Lon can be said to have received over 4 major blows to her frail heart. First was Mu Qing Song barging into their home and revealing her identity. Second was Bai Yan showcasing her extraordinary powers. Then thirdly was Di Song's near suffocating aura of oppressive might. Now, last but not least, she's watching her granddaughter getting so intimate with a man in front of her eyes. If that's not enough to make the old grandmother go limp in her legs, then what else can she do? This translation is only hosted on Ka-Translation. I will be away for a few days. Di Song didn't pay any heed to the departing members of the Lon family. Using an almost growling voice, if you need something, have my people inform me. Taken aback by the news, Bai Yan subconsciously asked, when will you return? Only after saying this did she regret her own folly. What am I talking about? Why would I care about when he's coming back like a little wife?
Seeing the embark.
Said look on the woman. Di Song's lip quickly curved into a smirk. I need to find a person. If I don't find her, I speculate she would be sold as a slave and still help her slaver count the money. Bai Yan did not say anything, but the thin line making up her tightened lips easily gave away her true feelings. You are not going to ask me who that person is? His voice getting deeper, like he demands it. And what does that have to do with me? Bai Yan hurriedly swings her head around, obviously disgruntled by the fact. Acting as if he didn't hear that, Di Song continues without her permission. I'm going to look for Xiaoqin's little auntie. Xiaoqin's little auntie? Then that means the girl is his sister? Startled by the information, Bai Yan swiftly comes back around and asked with sincerity, do you need my help to look? No need. Maybe it's due to her increased interest. Di Song's mood was very pleased by it. I have my ways to locate her. Alerted by their conversation, Bai Xiaoqin quickly toddled over to ask with his big innocent eyes, is it true that I got a new auntie? Will she like me like uncle does? She wouldn't dare. Di Song sounded very confident in his statement. If she dares to not like you, I will rope her up and start hitting her hind while she dangles there. Not far away inside a certain valley, a young maiden was currently having a huge sneezing fit. Rubbing her nose, she got the aching suspicion that someone was talking behind her back. It's all state teacher's fault for not telling me where my brother is. Now I got to go around looking for them. Puffing up her cheeks, that pinkish hue was truly adorable. I wonder if my brother has managed to woo my sister-in-law over yet. The more the young maiden thought about it, the grumpier the girl became. Using the stick she found, she begins stabbing the poor fishies in the pond to vent her steam while imagining the state teacher's handsome face. Inside the courtyard of the Lon family's estate, Di Song was in the middle of giving Bai Yan a tender kiss while embracing the woman of his life. I will be back soon, so be good while I'm away. Having said this, he finally released the woman and gave his son a quick scruffle on the head before taking his leave. Mother, did you really want to leave with me just now? Watching the departing back of his father, Bai Xiaoqin innocently asked his mother here. Going stiff in the body, Bai Yan could only exhale a sigh. This isn't your father's fault. He's also innocent, so I never blamed him for it. Then why did you say that then? Scratching his cute little head, Bai Xiaochen became perplexed by the contradiction. Truth is, I only wanted to see what sort of attitude he would make. Then how did Batty Father do? Naive in his gaze, Bai Xiaochen had placed his mother on the spotlight by doing this. He did quite well, her smile genuinely happy. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Will you like him in the future? He did quite well. Tilting his cute little head in puzzlement, Bai Xiaochen looks up with those bright starry eyes of his. Mother, have you accepted Batty Father then? No, I did not. She refutes it with a shake of her head. Then will you like him in the future? I don't know. Bai Yan went quiet for a moment. Slowly raising her stunning head to face that crystal blue sky, a faint smile escapes her. How can I predict what I don't know? Come son, let us go back home. This translation is only hosted on Translation Bouquet. He happily nods and ran into his mother's embrace. However, the pair only managed to take a few steps out of the estate before Bai Xiaochen recalled he was here to bring Andy Xiaoyan over to choose a fox. Wrinkling his baby face, he was practically moping in his voice, Mother, I need to make a second run back inside. Leaving only this behind, Bai Xiaochen struggled free from his mother's arms and ran inside without turning his head even once. It's widely recognized that the Music Valley was on equal standing to the flower brothel, and in some cases, their reputation supersedes their counterpart. Yet, in a single night, news of the Music Valley's destruction came sweeping over like a storm, catching Bai Ruo completely off guard today. How could this be? Due to the sudden act of climbing up from her bed, the wound on her body became torn again. Gasping at the sharp pain, Lu Yu, is this news reliable? The palace maid called Lu Yu respectfully replied, Crown Princess, this matter is absolutely true. Everyone in the entire kingdom now knows about it. Even that former mistress of the Music Valley now belongs to the flower brothel and is currently up for grabs for those willing to pay. Because of this reason, countless high-standing lords are rushing over there just to catch a glimpse of the lady. Going pale in her complexion, Bai Ruo closed her eyes as her hands clenched into a tight ball. I understand. You can leave me now. Yes, Crown Princess. Giving a slight bow, the maid retreats in an orderly fashion. With only her alone now, Bai Ruo had fallen into a daze-like state for a very long time. Perhaps it's due to the shockingness of the news. Even she was unwilling to believe it. How can Bai Yan have that kind of courage? Is she not afraid of Ditsong's fury? Does she think she can do whatever she wants just because she's in favor? Her pondering mind was all over the place during this period. But once she's come to terms with what's going on in her crooked mind, a freaky smile could be seen on that grotesque face. Someone come, prepare the sedan for me. I'm heading out. I must verify the news myself. The Bai house may have fallen into decay, but Bai Ruo was still the crown princess of the kingdom. Therefore, whenever her sedan moved across the streets, the civilians would consciously move aside to make room for her. Before long, she has arrived at her destination. Once inside the establishment after much difficulty, she can see clearly now through the rampant crowd of guests that a stunning woman was tied to a pillar. Obviously, the lady had lost her initial air of ago-des. In its place, only regret and a constant glimmer of deep pain could be found in those eyes. One glance, that's all it took for Bai Ruo to collapse. Crown Princess. The palace maid hurries to support her mistress after seeing that incessant shiver. Bai Yan sure have guts. But why isn't Ditsong coming out yet when she's made such a big commotion? If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Bai Ruo's jealousy, grabbing the maid's supporting hand with her own, Bai Ruo's voice was trembling with unease as she asked. However, before she could get a proper answer, the rowdy voices of the crowd had answered her question. This supposed mistress of the Music Valley sure is beautiful. To think she would also be a cheap bitch like all the rest. No matter, I will still be willing to buy her first time just for that outstanding appearance alone. Oh, why would you say that? You don't know yet? Mu Qing Song fancied Lord Song, but because she was rejected, the woman instead turned her fury at the lawn house. That's how she became like this. She angered Lord Song. Pausing for a moment to look around, the man speaking here then issued a ring laugh. And as it so happens, I was here when Lord Song's men threw her into the flower brothel. Even the destruction of the Music Valley was done at the order of the sovereign prince. It seems this Lord Song really is loyal and faithful. For that Bai Yan, he's willing to reject even a fine trophy like this Mu Qing Song. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation Che. You can't say it like that. Sure, this Mu Qing Song is indeed beautiful, but compared to Bai Yan, there's still a gap. If I were the one to choose, I would of course take Bai Yan over this cheap woman. Nevertheless, I'm still willing to use her as my mistress. Bai Rua's body was ready to collapse at this point. Fortunately, the maid behind her managed to support that crumbling body in time. Crown Princess, the voice sounded very concerned. I am fine, we will go back. First closing her eyes, Bai Rua eventually reopened them again after coming to terms with the reality. Just that, those shaking legs cannot hide the horror coursing through her veins. My husband loves me so much, yet he still has a few concubines. Besides, as long as they are male, they will be more inclined to be good to a beauty. So why would Deet Song ignore such a temptation for Bai Yan? How can such a man be Bai Yan's? Perhaps it's due to the woman's wish to ease her mood. Bai Rua didn't ride her sedan. Instead, she walked aimlessly through the streets for the palace. Just that, due to her divided attention, she had unintentionally ped into a pa-s sing girl while wandering.
Boom.
It's unsure why the young maiden was so strong, but Bai Rua felt like she was ting into a wall instead of a person. Stumbling backwards, she immediately took to the ground and ripped open her wounds again. Crown Princess. Alarmed by the fall, the palace maid as well as the escorting soldiers were quick to react. While the maid took to helping her mistress, the guards quickly surrounded the maiden. How dare you? This is Her Royal Highness the Crown Princess that you ped into. Di Xiaowan, Deet Song's sister, originally wanted to say sorry after colliding with someone, but after the abrupt scolding from the guards, her proud nature instantly flared up. She didn't look where she was going, so how can she blame anyone? She snorts, knocking her head high. Impudent. The complexion of the guards were getting uglier by the second. Just as they were ready to make a move, Bai Rua's hollering voice stopped them. Hold it. Slowly climbing up from the ground, Bai Rua's beautiful eyes were clearly focused on the badge token tied to the girl's waist. That badge looks very nice. Mind showing me? What? Di Xiaowan immediately head up her precious item like a protective hen. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Where's my brother? A rippling smile appears out of Bai Rua's mouth. Please don't misunderstand. I'm only asking because I happened to see it somewhere before.
She did happen to see it.
A peerless man like Deet Song cannot be resisted by any woman, including those who are married like herself. As such, during the first few years of the man's arrival in this kingdom, she would often accidentally appear in places where Deet Song would be, pretending to be a pa-s Serbi while sneaking a few glances here and there. That's when she noticed this token with the letter Yao, demon on it. To think I would see it again on a young girl like this. The young maiden grew excited. You've seen this token? Where? Where is he? Smiling deeply again, Bai Rua knew she's had the girl. I'm a friend. May I know your relationship with him? This translation is only hosted on Catranslation Friend. Impossible. My older brother hates women the most. Of course, aside from my sister-in-law, that is. Just thinking of how she will soon meet her sister-in-law and cuddly little nephew, Di Xiao one would smile from within her hearts. Even if a man hates the female sex, there's bound to be some special existences eventually, is it not so? Bai Ruo continues to sway the young girl in her way. Shaking her head, Di Xiao one refutes it completely. There's been no shortages of the female sex trying to woo my brother, but never once had he gotten close to any of them, let alone become friends. To what extent does that phobia applies to? It's to the point where Ditsong wouldn't allow even a single person to draw within 100 meters of his own existence. Nowadays, not a single woman, in some cases the male side too, wouldn't dare to get close to Ditsong back in the demon realm. What I said is true. Bai Ruo's expression was starting to change for the worse. Nevertheless, she continues to force a smile using that soft tone of hers, and, I can bring you to him. Biting her fingernail, Di Xiaowen appears to be struggling at the idea, but when I left home, state teacher specifically told me not to follow anyone I don't know, or else. Why don't I give you my address, and you can have him come find me instead? If I went with this woman, state teacher would certainly be very angry with me. Seeing how insufferably hard it was to convince this wretch, Bai Ruo herself too was starting to get impatient. If it was any other time, she would have slapped the girl on the spot by now if not for Ditsong's connection. Suddenly, she noticed a familiar figure coming from the front. Hurrying to call out, she didn't mind the fact that her voice sounded a tad sharp there. Ever since that incident inside the palace with the rod punishment occurred, Bai Ji haven't been able to make contact with her elder sister. Therefore, tears immediately came flowing out as soon as she did so. Sister. Bai Yan is too hateful. Not only did she cripple father, she's also framing mother of cheating behind the scenes. Nowadays, father would constantly beat her like it's true. What should I do? What is even more odious is the fact that Ditsong would defend that bitch by Yen still. I don't get what she gave him to cause such a reaction.
What?
Bai Ruo's complexion had gone white. Father is actually hitting mother? I will return home in 2 days with my husband. Only after wiping some of her tears did Bai Ji turn towards the beautifully pleasant girl behind the group. Sister, who is this woman? Turning sharp as soon as she heard the question, Bai Ruo was clearly up to no good. She is Ditsong's sister. I promised to take her to her brother. As it so happens, I'm currently busy, so I will hand the job over to you. If you like this translation, consider donating for extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Bai Yan is here. 3. Mother, just now this woman wanted to hit me.
Hit my son?
Bai Yan's face was dreadfully dark. Now I like to see who got the nerve to make a move against my son. Oh, yes, Lan Xiaoyan adds in another part. This woman is also here because of your man. Likely she got rejected and is here to vent her steam by making trouble. Another one of Ditsong's love debt? Bai Yan's lip gently curved into a smirk. Landing her sight on the woman, she starts speaking in an interrogatory manner. Which hand of yours did you use? Not her. It's that maid beside her, who wanted to slap little Xiaochen. Finding this reliable reinforcement here, Lan Xiaoyan immediately changed from her timid appearance to a roaring lioness. She used her right hand. This translation is only hosted on Translation going cold in her face. Mu Qing Song had wanted to lecture the pest when a flash of gleaming light stopped her. It was Bai Yan who was moving so fast that none could perceive her movement. By the time the rude woman recovered from her startling discovery, it was already too late. Ah! Following an ear-deafening scream made the woman in green. A fountain of blood was already gushing out from that horrific stump of flesh. On the ground, the decapitated hand was still twitching there after being sliced off in one clean motion. You should be glad that you didn't use both hands, or else your other arm will also be crippled. Because of how abrupt her attack was, none in the room could react in time. Therefore, even the little steam bun was able to witness everything in close proximity, which greatly worried Lan Xiaoyan, who attempted to block his eyes afterwards. Oh, Auntie, you don't need to worry about me. When me and Mother was wandering outside, I saw firsthand of a person being devoured by a demon beast alive. This is nothing for me. Before being taken into the Holy Land by the three elders, Bai Xiaochen was only a couple of months old. Yet, he was able to remember everything at that age where he's considered to be a freshborn. Upon hearing this explanation, Lan Xiaoyan was both sad and pained inside, causing the girl to nearly break out into tears. How can those people from the Bai house force such a good child and her mother to wander out there alone for so long? How dare you? Mu Qing's song was flushed with anger. Bai Yan, do you know what you're doing? If Di Dang were to learn of your true character, do you think he will forgive you? In response, Bai Yan only sneered at the accusation. Forgive me? What does him forgiving me have to do with this? In fact, it should be me deciding on whether or not I should forgive him. She has her own pride and dignity, and her dignity was to never yield under a man. You're just saying that in the heat of the moment. The woman shows a sardonic smile. You spent so much time seducing him, so how can you not care about his opinion? Why don't you just admit it? You're afraid of losing him. Bai Yan became paralyzed. I spent a lot of time seducing him, Ditsong, and I'm afraid of losing that man? Why don't I know any of this? At the very same time over at the burnt ruins of the Tsong Manor, a certain guard clad in full armor was vigilantly overseeing the reconstruction work of the estate. There were workers, craftsmen, and heavy laborers, all working in tandem at breakneck snailish speed. Slower, your actions are too fast still, so slow down. This is the command of His Highness. Don't blame me for not warning you lot. If you anger our lord, you can forget about staying in the kingdom. Then just after the person finished his words, a beautifully dressed woman came rushing over to interrupt his work. Bai Yan is here, for perhaps it was due to her running the entire way, but the woman was panting for air as soon as she started to slow down. Song, that where is Lord Song? Dong Rulin wanted to get closer to make her voice clearer. Sadly, her legs simply won't budge anymore due to how fatigued they were. The overseeing guard became startled. Hesitant in his tone, His Highness is currently away due to an urgent matter. I don't know where he is either. Madame Lan, why don't you try Miss Bai Yan's place? The Lord have been living there for the past few days. Bitter in her smile, Dong Rulin shook her head rapidly. I just came from that side. Is there a way you can contact Lord Song? That woman is obviously coming with ill intent. I must find Lord Song to help. Please wait, Madame Lan. I will pass the message to my lord immediately. This translation is only hosted on Catranslation. Seeing how anxious the woman was in her demeanor, the guard knew it must be urgent. Without hesitating, he immediately pulled out a flare container and ignited the bottom. Next second, a radiant glow of piercing red had illuminated the sky. Inside the dense forest outside the capital city, two men was currently standing there unmoved. The one in front would of course be Di Tsong, while the other standing behind him was the man that had transformed into the flaming bird from before. My king, I've only managed to trace the princesses sent to this place. After that I can no longer follow the trail. Then, did you manage to locate that woman from the snake tribe? His voice was gloomy, frightening the man behind even more. Subordinate is useless. I still haven't located her yet. As soon as his words came forward, the one known as Fire Plume can clearly feel his lord's aura growing more and more intense to the point where he had trouble breathing. Continuing like this for well over a minute, the oppression finally dispersed. Continue to investigate. Yes, King. He can finally exhale a sigh of relief. Because of how frightening his king's aura was, he estimates only the future queen would have the ability to tame that tyrannical power. Then, without indication, Ditsong's aura suddenly grew heavier again. The message flare I left behind has been detonated. A messenger flare have a lot of uses. The main one was to inform the original owner of danger by igniting it and releasing the infused spiritual energy stored inside. This would alarm the creator no matter where they are so long as a barrier wasn't in place. However, he also mentioned to his men that only matters related to Bai Yan would they be allowed to ignite the flare. If it was any other ordinary matters, it was of no concern. King, is it the Queen? Fire Plume raised his head as a flash of sympathy flowed out of his eyes. Someone else is going to be screwed again. You continue to search for her whereabouts. Dropping this order down, Deetsong's silvery and purplish figure was gone from view, leaving behind the still somewhat nervous man in the background. Finally, after a good minute of this awkward silence, the one known as Fire Plume also started to leave. Transforming from his human appearance, the person turns into a huge flaming bird that radiated searing heat to all of its surroundings. Not quite a true phoenix, only a descendant with a stronger bloodline than usual. At this very moment back over at the lawn house, Bai Yan was facing off against Mu Qing Song with that peerless smile of hers. Since you have already decided, then I won't waste my words. Why don't you state why you are here instead? Mu Qing Song was practically seething with frost in her words. I had only wanted to test you today. The loser was only to leave Deetsong forever, but after witnessing what you've done to my people, I can't exactly let it end so easily anymore. Crossing her arms under her breasts, Bai Yan's smile grew even bigger. With you only? Talk about arrogant to the extreme. This naturally left Mu Qing Song extremely displeased in her expression. Di Xiao 1 versus Lan Xiaoyan 1. If anyone were to be more stupefied here, it would have to be Chu Yi. I've just been robbed in the face. Just thinking of this point would cause her rosy face to flush with anger. What did you say? Little Xiaochen is not your nephew. He can only be mine you hear? I don't want to be your sister anymore, call me auntie, alright? This last part would of course be meant for Bai Xiaochen. After stating this much, Chu Yi didn't forget to shoot a provocative stare at her opponent. This translation is only hosted on Cat Translation now. It was Di Xiao want to become mystified. When did my brother accept another sister? By now, Bai Xiaochen was already cherry red in his cheeks after suppressing himself all this time. Sister Yi is my father's sister, not my batty father's. Batty father? This name is too suitable for him. Di Xiao couldn't resist another pinch at that squiggly face. Your face is exactly like my brother's when he was young, just that you are more sensible and more polite. Way better than he is at your age. In all seriousness, Di Xiao really had trouble believing this clever and adorable little child was his old brother's seed. Finding the girl willfully ignoring herself repeatedly, Chu Yi was ready to flare out at this point. But before then, she made sure to first SNATCH the little guy over to her side for protection. Hey, what are you doing? Di Xiao shoots a glare at Chu Yi for stealing her darling of a nephew. Return my nephew to me. I'm not giving. What can you do? Chu Yi proudly makes a grunt to showcase her terrible might of being unreasonable. If based solely on appearance, Chu Yi and Di Xiao are not of the same type. The former being the charming young girl type, while the latter was the sweet and beautiful. However, their temper are one and the same, the type to explode upon contact. As such, finding someone trying to steal her precious nephew away, Di Xiao face was starting to show off a pang of true anger. You want to fight, is it? Come. Which weapon would you like to use? Or, do you want to go barehanded? I will even let you have the first strike. Sensing the dangerous aura oozing out of the pair, the innocent bystanders were very conscious in relocating themselves to a safer location, thus leaving a wide open space for their brawl. Now Bai Xiaochen had become anxious. First looking at Chu Yi, then back at his newfound auntie, the baby boy didn't know who to help. Wah! That's when the baby boy broke out into a screaming cry. It's not a scheme, not a trick, just a simple yet effective mean for any kid to grab attention from their adults. Hey, why are you pushing me? Chu Yi really wanted to pop in her chest due to all the steam pent up in there. He's my nephew, so I'm enough to come for him. Di Xiao made sure to give her nephew a comforting hug to prove her ownership. Grinning at the claim, Chu Yi clearly thought otherwise. He's your nephew now, But that may not necessarily be the case later on, the annoyed girl retorts. Don't you know Bai Yan still haven't accepted your brother yet? On the contrary, my brother have stayed by Bai Yan's side for years, so his hope of winning the beauty home is leagues ahead of yours. Di Xiaowan was literally popping her eyes at the news. It can't be. My brother is that much of a loser? Then I don't care. My brother is little Xiaoqin's biological father, thus making me his auntie regardless. Blood cannot be changed. The panicking girl was literally screaming the last part to Aria's sure herself. Now Chu Yi didn't feel quite the same. In her defense, she never once thought of the baby boy as an outsider, so blood didn't matter to her. Now, that don't matter to me. Even if my brother do become useless like yours, Xiaoqin will still be my nephew regardless of blood. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Di Xiaowan versus Lan Xiaoyan 2. Looking at the two people who will not agree with each other, Bai Xiaoqin was rather sad over this fact. Do they not see me crying? Why are they not stopping yet? Little Xiaoqin, since arguing wasn't getting anywhere, the next best option would be to bribe the target. In one swift swing of her hands, Di Xiaowan had unraveled her satchel for the baby boy. This is all my belonging. Although it's not some gold or silver, the stuff inside should still fetch a pretty penny once you barter it off at the shop. This is my gift to you for our first meeting. Not hesitating either after seeing her foe's blatant act of bribery, Chu Yi also pulled out her storage ring for the baby boy. This is for you too. It's my personal storage ring containing all my valuables. For an instance there, Bai Xiaoqin was at a loss on what to do as he eyed the two storage items in his tiny palm. This translation is only hosted on Ka-Translation. You want to compete with me? Scoffing a laugh of annoyance, Di Xiaowan immediately blew a whistle with her fingers. A minute later, a white streak of light had sliced through the sky to land directly on the ground.
Boom.
Waiting until the crowd regained their composure from the grand entry, a white fluttering figure had caught their attention like a magnet. Dazzling under the beaming light of the sun, this white phoenix was glorious to the eye. This is a white phoenix that I caught on my way here. Little Xiaoqin, I can see you are lacking in amount, so this will do for now. Patting the phoenix on the head, Di Xiaowan gave no illusions about her ownership. However, the white phoenix is but the lowest of the low in the phoenix family. When there's time, I will find you another better one. Phoenix?
Mount?
Looking at the sweet and pretty face of the young maiden, only a dumbfounded look can be found on the faces of the crowd. Although the white phoenix breed was of the lowest in terms of lineage, but it's still of noble descent. Instead of cherishing it like a treasure, she's going to toss it aside when there's time to find another one? Grumbling at the flaunting act of wealth, Chu Yi had no choice but to admit defeat on this end. Forget about taming a phoenix, she can't even tame a simple garden bird, okay? Auntie, Sister Yi, my mother have always taught me since childhood that a gentleman can love money, but they cannot take what is not theirs. These gifts are too valuable. I cannot take them. Giving the storage ring and storage bag in his hand one final glance, Bai Xiaoqin can only reluctantly return the prizes to their rightful owners. Seeing the disappointed expression on Di Xiaowan's face, the baby boy's clever mindset once again shined in this situation. However, Andy, I will take this phoenix since it's your meeting gift to me. I do need a ride anyways. In truth, if he had wanted a white phoenix to use as his mount, his mother would have brought one to him long ago. Just that he didn't want to hurt the girl, hence the reason why he would take the bird despite not needing one. Sure enough, it worked. Showing a gloating smile, Di Xiaowan immediately shot a taunting face at Chu Yi to send the girl jumping with steam. Sister Yi, Bai Xiaoqin's face was beaming a heartwarming smile. Though I didn't take your gift, but I still like you and father a lot. No matter what choice my mother makes in the future, you will always be my family. What a sensible child. The surrounding onlookers were all sighing helplessly after watching. First was that phrase of not taking what's not yours. Only a properly educated child can utter something so good. Now he's also comforting his elders for the sake of others. Such a well-behaved child, who can bear to harm such a darling. While some were mumbling this inside their heart, some were less inclined to keep their thoughts to themselves and outright said it aloud. If Bai Yan can educate her son to such an extent, she can't be bad like what the Bai family says. Besides, that family nearly sold this good child back then and also set him on fire because he wouldn't agree. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Di Xiao 1 vs Lan Xiaoyan 3. Di Xiao 1 originally wanted to keep arguing with her opponent over who's better and etc., but as soon as she heard the whispering comments from the bystanders, her raging fury had erupted.
What?
Sell my nephew? And setting him on fire? Which bastard is it? My nephew is the crown prince of the demon realm. Who dares? As soon as the topic was brought up again, Chu Yi herself also erupted. That's not all. Those people also wanted to sell Bai Yan to an old fart to be his concubine. For what? All for a third-grade Dan pill. If Bai Yan didn't run in time back then, little Xiachen might not even be born now. Something like that happened too. My sister-in-law is the destined queen of the demon realm, who would have the nerve to ignore our power. Are they blind in the eye? This translation is only hosted on Catranslation, regardless of whatever thoughts were running through the girl. Di Xiao 1 apparently had forgotten no one in this mortal world even knows their status or background. Of course, that Bai family is the worst. In those days, Bai Yan was forced to wander out in the wild alone with a little baby in her care. Who knows how much suffering they had to endure during that time. Even back when the elders brought her to our place, Bai Yan's body was already covered in wounds without a single patch of good flesh. Going sour in her nose, Di Xiao 1 suddenly had the urge to break out into tears at the story. From birth to now, she had always been carefully cared for by her caregivers. Never in her expectations did she foresee Bai Yan and Bai Xiachen to suffer so badly. And the cause of all this are those who have harmed them. Wait, you just said the Bai house? Why is this surname so familiar? Struggling to remember where she heard the name, Di Xiao 1 revealed a perplexed expression while brooding. Rolling her eyes at the dumb girl's reaction, Chu Yi didn't hold back her mockery. Seriously, and you call yourself Xiachen's aunt? Bai Yan's maiden name is Bai, you silly. No, not right. Still unable to recall why, Di Xiao 1's line of sight eventually fell upon the figure hiding among the crowd. Jumping up like she had finally grasped onto the trailing thought, she points at the girl. That's her. She's the scoundrel who tried to cheat me. And to think this scoundrel even claimed to know my old bro, does she take me for an idiot? Following the direction of that finger, Chu Yi's face instantly flared up as soon as she saw Bai Ji standing there. What is this wrench still doing out here? Ho, I believe it's time we got a little payback for Bai Yan after what this bitch did to her years ago. As the old saying goes, no matter how great the hatred, foes will become friends once a common enemy is met. That's exactly what's happening here in this situation. While the other side was ready to give her a good clobbering, Bai Ji, on the other hand, was dumbfounded by her own obsession. Shouldn't this Miss D be tearing apart that wild child? Why is she recognizing him instead? It's precisely because of this dilemma that the girl had missed the optimal timing to flee. As such, by the time she wanted to run, Di Xiao 1 and Chu Yi was already stomping over in a threatening manner. Under that oppressive pressure, she inexplicably gulped with a pang of sweat trickling down her side. You must be mistaken, Miss D. He cannot be Lord Song's child. In response to that blatant lie, Di Xiao was so angry that she directly sent a kick at Bai Ji's chest. Are you saying I'm stupid then? That I can't even recognize my own nephew? What a joke. No matter how dumb I am sometimes, I can never mistake my own nephew. Before Bai Ji could issue another word in her own defense, another kick from Chu Yi had come flying over, causing the girl to scream in agony. What are you doing? It was at this moment a familiar voice drifted over from the other side. Turning around, Chui can see it was Lan Xiaoyan who was coming over with a red cuddly fox in her arms. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Spoiling her for Deet Song Yu, raising her ashen face to confront that overbearing man. Not a word could come forward anymore. The Music Valley no longer exists from this day forward. With only that order, the fate of the Music Valley was sealed. Puking another mouthful of blood, her horrified face only had shock left in there. Why? You still asking me why? My wife nearly ran away with my child because of you. The dreaded frost from his smile only added to his charm for some reason. Shuddering at the man's remark, Mu Qing Song struggled to upright herself from the ground. You are that certain the child is yours? Did you test your blood with his? As if I wouldn't be able to recognize my own son. Do you take me for an idiot, or are you that much of an idiot yourself? The murderous intent was now in full bloom around Deet Song's figure. This translation is only hosted on Cat Translation in this moment. Mu Qing Song didn't care about her own physical pain, nor did she care what the others thought of her. All she knows was that her heart was hurting like it's being crushed until it's nothing but a pile of mush. Don't you realize that she's a vicious woman? The flower brothel is a place of womanizing, yet she still wants to cripple me and send me there. Such a woman is qualified to be your wife. No matter how vicious she is, I am here to protect her. Furthermore, clicking his tongue, Deet Song didn't hide his contempt for the woman. I'm rather fond of Yan Yan's idea. I agree. Let's send you to the flower brothel to take customers. That should be adequate for making my wife angry. Shuddering at the statement, the helpless woman could hardly believe her own ears. What did you say? He wants to send me to the flower brothel? How can he be so cruel to me? PFF. Following a piercing white light that shot straight into Mu Qing Song's body, her dantian finally shattered into a million pieces. I never thought the man that I've been searching after so long would be this heartless to me. She's not wrong to pursue love. What she did wrong was to pursue her love on Deet Song, someone she never should have eyed for in the first place. But then, just the thought of Bai Yan being protected so tightly by that man, an unbridled fury would erupt out of her heart. Send her to the flower brothel. Cold and indifferent, Deet Song gives the command for the guards to come out of hiding. Yes, Your Highness. Respectful in their tones, the men worked quickly and dragged the now crippled woman away. Without bothering to give Mu Qing Song another glance, Deet Song turns back to Bai Yan, who is still very upset with him. Do you need something else? She retreats as the man got closer, creating an awkward scene almost akin to a cat and mouse game. Going gloomy again at the reaction of the girl, he questions her. Do you really intend to take my son away with you? I was just kidding. But I don't like that sort of joke. Disregarding the focused gaze from everyone around them, Deet Song forcefully pushes her against the nearby tree and takes a hearty bite of her lip. If there's a next time, I will directly take you to my bed with no mercy shown. Bai Yan's face had gone completely black. Can you control yourself? People are watching. So, you know how to be scared too? Let's see how you will threaten me again in the future. With his eyes narrowed into an evil slit, he didn't forget to take advantage of the situation to get some more skinship. A humph. Making an embarrassed cough to bring the two back to reality, old Lord Lan hurries to wink at the dumbfounded Lan Xiaoyan. What are you still dazing around for? Your grandmother suffered quite the scare there. Hurry and go help her inside, so she can rest. I still need to go look for my old friend to drink tea. Indeed, old Madame Lan did receive quite the scare today, but it wasn't all for Mu Qing Song. Bai Yan and Deet Song's intimate act here also had a hand in it. Against a common enemy, Annie Xiaowan. Wouldn't Batty Father be sad if you say it like that? From those blinking eyes, a hint of Compa. Shaun could be seen in the little steam bun's face. As if he would, Di Xiaowan refutes the claim outright. My old bro always say I'm annoying and stupid. Not only that, he would always go on and on about marrying me off early, so he won't have to deal with me so often.
As if I would want to see him.
No way. State teacher is so much kinder than he is. In honest truth, Di Xiaowan really don't know what sort of sins she's committed to have such a brother. For that reason alone, she's been suppressed for many years under that tyrannical rule. Little Xiachen, let's go home. Your mother is waiting for us. Ignoring the conversation, Chu Yi, Holy Land Princess, led the way by holding the baby boy's hand. This translation is only hosted on Ka-Translation naturally. Di Xiaowan wouldn't just ignore this, and continued to follow them from behind in silence. Why are you following me? Chu Yi shot her head around to glare at the unwanted tagger. Of course to go home. She ket her brow, unsure why the need for the question. Now it's Chu Yi's turn to be stumped. She really didn't know whether to be angry or to laugh. That is our home. Your home is over at the Tsang Manor. I will have someone send you over there. Bai Yan is my sister-in-law and Xiachen is my nephew, so of course their home is my home. How can I be a hinder to you when I'm going home? No other way. That's what happens when Xiachen was her nephew. Just that connection alone gives her the right to tag along. This, unable to grasp onto the situation, Lan Xiaoyan, girl cousin, weakly chimed in. Weren't we doing very well just now? Why are you two quarreling all of a sudden? These two were clearly doing so well. Why are they trending towards an open brawl? That's what happens when she tries to snatch away my nephew. Di Xiaowan stabs her fists against her hip to emphasize her point. My little nephew is mine, as well as my sister-in-law. I won't give either of them up to you. Ho, you want to fight, eh? All right, come on, let's go.
Chu Yi has had it now.
Letting go of the baby boy's hand, she knocks her chin up in preparation for the fight. It's likely safe to assume the most clueless one here had to be Lan Xiaoyan. Scratching her head anxiously, the girl's eyes suddenly lit up at an idea. Miss Xiaowan, there's been no shortages of people talking behind my cousin's back while she was away during all these years. In a blink of an eye, the two raging lionesses were longer glaring at each other. Instead, their eyes were solely focused on the poor girl who only wanted to help. Sharon, tell me, who are the people talking behind Bai Yan's back? I'll go after them. Those thugs sure are bold to talk ill of my nephew and sister-in-law. Their angry voices were nearly in sync, causing a resonance effect across the street. Smiling right up to her eyes, Lan Xiaoyan was very pleased with this reaction. This wasn't all of it. Right after they learned of little Xiachen's existence, they also started to talk ill about Lord Song and that he's taking care of another man's child. I've already compiled a list for us to get them back one at a time. The first one, let's start with that sixth princess of the royal family. She not only mocked my cousin behind her back, she even bullied little Xiachen and attempted to set the Tsang Manor ablaze. We should make an example of her for starters. Bringing out the list she's been keeping on her at all times, Lan Xiaoyan was very proactive when it came to these sort of things. Let's go, we'll go find those he's to settle the score. Pulling up her sleeve, Di Xiaowan was showing off the perfect image of someone ready for a fight. Nodding in approval, Chu Yi was the same in every way. Lead the way, Xiaoyan. We're going to pay them back in full force today. Seeing how easily these two are joining up for the task, the confused girl can finally exhale a sigh of relief. In her view, the main priority was to stop their heated bickering before it devolves into something serious. As for that sixth princess, the girl can only consider herself unlucky. Sister Chu and Xiaowan Bai Xiachen had wanted to say they should return home first, but before he could, the raging figures had already disappeared like wind and fire. And thus, a flabbergasted child was left behind without his consent. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. My brother is Di Tsang, the princess's home. While hundreds of blooming flowers adorned this wondrous garden, it was so horribly tarnished by a girl so filled with hatred that she would destroy this scenic picture by plucking the flowers one at a time to satiate her anger. Since the day when she was framed for no reason of setting Deetsong's home ablaze, the sixth princess had no choice but to go kneel in front of the Tsong manor at her father's order. Contrary to getting the forgiveness like she expected, she got done in by a flaming bird instead and nearly had her entire arm ripped off by the bite. By the time she woke up again after fainting away, the princess was already back at her home. Lord Song is so cruel. At the very least, I'm still considered a beauty. Why would he ignore me at every turn? The princess just can't accept the fact that she's losing out to Bai Yen, so she's venting her steam on the poor flowers. This translation is only hosted on Cat Translations. It was then, at this moment, a light chuckle came from behind, startling the princess greatly. In a hurry, she turned around to find Lan Xiaoyan in her blue dress standing there. And beside the girl were two angry maidens glaring daggers at herself. Lan Xiaoyan, what are you doing here? The princess viciously asked. She's afraid of making a move against Bai Yen because of Deetsong's might, but that doesn't necessarily apply to Lan Xiaoyan. I heard you want to seduce my brother? And also bullied my nephew. Di Xiaowan, Deetsong's sister, proudly knocked her chin up as she looked down in disdain at this mortal princess. Who is your brother? My brother is Deetsong. Once that said, the demon princess didn't give her foe another chance to reply. In swift uppercut, she sends the mortal girl flying up into the air like a lightning bolt. Sadly for the sixth princess, things didn't end there. There's still Chu Yi's flying upper kick to knock her even higher into the crystal blue sky. Popping her eyes in surprise, Lan Xiaoyan only had sympathy for the sixth princess who wouldn't come down anymore. On this day, the entire Lu Hui kingdom was doomed to be unsettling to the point where fear would run rampant. One Chu Yi would already be enough to flip the entire kingdom upside down. Add in another Di Xiaowan, it'd be a miracle if there's anything left by the end of it. At this moment, Bai Yen was still unaware of the chaos quickly ensuring outside her home as a result of her task of refining some medicine for the sickly Bai Zhanpeng. This the pill I was telling you about. Walking out of the cauldron room, Bai Yen casually placed the bottle in front of the sickly man. There are a total of 100 pills inside, more than to remedy that body of yours. As for the extra in my possession, consider it your payment to me. The excitement in Bai Zhanpeng's usually indifferent face cannot be hidden here. Carefully picking up the bottle containing his life-saving pills, his voice sounded somewhat hoa. Due to the emotions running through his soul. Miss Bai, thank you. You really saved me this time. If you ever need my help in the future, I will answer your call no matter the circumstances. Bai Yen was definitely happy over the answer. It's fine. Aside from the batch I gave you, I also left a lot for myself. We are even. How can I do that? A life debt cannot be paid with some mere pills. Standing up, Miss Bai Yen, I feel like we are hitting it off very well. Why don't you call me Uncle Zhanpeng instead? How about it? Bai Yen became stunned there. Looking you finally replied after seeing how earnest the man was. All right, Uncle Zhanpeng. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. I only need to see her. A smile escapes the man. To Bai Zhanpeng, sickly man, the girl in front of him was no different from seeing his younger sister again from all those years ago. However wishful that may be, it cannot be true because his sister was already 20 that year when she disappeared. To say Bai Yen to be his niece was more fitting. Bai Yen, I will be staying in the city during this period. If there's anything you need, do come find us at the Dragon Phoenix Inn. Elder Gu, let us go now. Giving Bai Yen one last glance, Bai Zhanpeng didn't look back anymore as he strode towards the exit. Young master, you're almost fully recovered now. With the medicine in our hands, shouldn't we first return to the medicine sect? The elder was quick to suggest the idea after they were outside. Shaking his head before turning around, Bai Zhanpeng was full of emotions when he looked at the old manor. How can I possibly do that? It's not easy to come across someone so similar to her. There's no way I can. This translation is only hosted on Cat Translation. My heart just can't bear to leave her, even if the girl only has her looks. Sighing, the old elder laments the cruelty of reality, but she is not your sister in the end. I know, the smile becomes a bittersweet one. Elder Gu, I only want to watch over her. That's all. That's all. I have no other wish. Just seeing that face is enough. This way, I can at least fantasize her still being by our side, and not like how things have turned out now. Facing the resolve in his young lord, Elder Gu had no choice but to give in. Then I will go ahead and write letter back to your father first. We should at least inform him. Very well, frowning, but I don't want you to tell him about Bai Yan yet. Why? Asked the elder in surprise. She has strong talent in alchemy, so I don't want anyone to disturb her peace because of me. Now, it made sense to this Elder Gu. If it becomes known of how talented Bai Yan was, those old relics back at the medicine sect will no doubt subjugate the girl to a series of harassment. I understand then. Rest assured, young master. I will not let anyone know about this matter. Serious in his old face, the elder intends to use the safest possible method this time to transfer the letter back home. Let's go now. I will return home in half a month. Until then, we will stay here. Exhaling a sigh, Bai Zhanping understands anything longer than that will raise the suspicion of his father. By then, Bai Yan's existence will be exposed. That's not the outcome he wants for anyone. Not for his father, and not for this girl who has the same face as his younger sister. Back inside the old manor, after her patient had left the premise, Bai Yan originally wanted to return inside to continue her efforts in creating more pills. However, as soon as she turned around, she immediately took notice to her son's strange behavior of peeking out from behind the tree. Son, what are you doing? This voice greatly startled the little steam bun. Cautiously coming out of hiding, Bai Xiaochen appeared to be quite uncomfortable in front of his mother's presence. Mother, what's wrong? She wrinkled her brow, finding the demeanor of her son very strange. Biting her fingers, Bai Xiaochen's voice sounded very nervous. Mother, you must prepare yourself. What happened? Startled at first, Bai Yan continues to ask. Just now, Sister Yi and Auntie Xiaoyan went out to make trouble. I suspect there will be a lot of people coming over to find you in a bit. This time the list brought out by Lan Xiaoyan had contained basically the names of every noble lady in the royal capital, married or unmarried. If they really did get even with everyone, it's a given the whole city will be in an uproar. Although Bai Xiaochen also believes that there was nothing wrong with their practice, but if you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Sister-in-law, please take me in. Bai Yan's expression had gone dark. Your sister Yi, Holy Land's princess, brought your Auntie Xiaoyan, girl cousin, out to make trouble? Mother, this time you're wrong about Sister Yi. It's not her who's bringing Auntie Xiaoyan out to make trouble. It's Auntie Xiaoyan who's bringing Sister Yi out to make trouble. Making a pouty face with his mouth, Bai Xiaochen wasn't very happy in the tone that he's using. What's even more infuriating is that they didn't even bring me along. After all that, the little steam bun was only moping around because they left him behind. Talk about ridiculous. Towards her son's comment, Bai Yan's expression grew even darker. Knocking the kid on the head to show her displeasure, she continues, behave yourself. If there's anything else you must tell me, wait until I finish dealing with this mess first. This translation is only hosted on Cat Translation. Chu-yi never cares about whether or not she's right or wrong. To the girl, it only matters if she likes the person or not. For that reason, there's been no shortages of young talented individuals who had to suffer under her tyrannical rule within the Holy Land. But that's not necessarily the case for Lan Xiaoyan. If she's willing to lead the way with her personality, then there must be a reason. Oh right, tilting his little head, those eyes were innocent and clean. Mother, do you still remember those words Batty father said before he left? Yes, I remember. Bai Yan makes a faint nod. He said he's going to search for his little sister. The other thing I want to say is this, struggling in his baby tongue, Annie she. Cousin. It was at this moment the joyous voice of Lan Xiaoyan drifted over from the outside, which also interrupted the mother and son's conversation. Looking up, Bai Yan only managed to catch a glimpse of that girl in the blue dress before she became overwhelmed by a speeding figure coming her way. Alarmed by the intrusion, she reflexively shot her leg out and slammed it directly into that rushing body. Against this scene, Lan Xiaoyan and Chu Yi were both flabbergasted. Watching their third partner shoot up into the sky and then coming back down to the ground in a sprawling position, they could hardly keep their jaws closed. Who are you? Bai Yan's face was darker than ever when she asked with that cold, hard voice. Mother. Tugging at his mother's sleeve, Bai Xiaochen was full of sympathy as he eyed the twitching girl on the ground. She is Annie Xiaowan. Annie Xiaowan. Bai Yan frowned. That's Batty Father's little sister. Popping her eyes in surprise, Bai Yan stared intently at the girl there. You are my son's auntie? Why would she be here with Chu Yi and Lan Xiaoyan? Di Xiaowan finally emerged from her dazed-like state after the question. Heavily shaking her head to pull herself together, she then climbs up to pat the dust off. Sister-in-law, puckering her lips into a frown, a layer of water could easily be seen filling those aggrieved eyes. You are so mean. I only wanted to give you a hug. How can you actually kick me? Twitching in the corner of her eye, Bai Yan also felt ashamed of her rashness there. A humph. I thought you were attacking me. Come on. Anyone would react the same way if they see a stranger rushing over without a word. This can only be blamed on Di Xiaowan's carelessness of not giving a proper greeting. Sister-in-law, pitiful in her appearance, I'm homeless now. Can you take me in? Your brother is looking for you everywhere. You should go find him. As soon as the news of her brother searching everywhere for her came to light, Di Xiaowan couldn't resist shivering a cold fright. Shrinking her neck in, she pleads again with that big smile. Please, sister-in-law, I left home without permission. If my brother catches me, he will surely kill me. I still think it's safer here, so pretty please let me stay. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. Are you sure you want to stay? Are you sure you want to stay? Bai Yan asks with an extra meaning in her eyes. Going bright, Di Xiaowan grew excited. Can I really stay here? You are more than welcome to stay, however. I hope you won't regret it afterwards. Unbeknownst to the girl yet, Di Tsong had already beaten her to the goal of claiming a spot in this manner. By the time she discovers this truth, it would be already too late. Sister Yen Yen, putting on a pouty face, Chu Yi, Holy Land Princess, sends a glare of unwillingness at the newcomer before turning back around. Are you really going to take this girl in? This translation is only hosted on Catranslation Di Xiao. One went cold at the question. Proudly raising her beautiful face up, she fires back. And why can't I stay? This is my nephew and sister-in-law's home, not your home. We don't need your input. Di Xiaowan, Demon Realm Princess. Do you want to fight again? Chu Yi's face had become a rosy red due to anger. Let's fight then, as if I, Di Xiaowan, would fear someone like you. Even if the girl had always been oppressed by Di Tsong since young, but those elders in the demon realm and the state teacher himself would always dote her to the extreme. And so, that's why her character would be so surprisingly similar to Chu Yi's. They are two little princesses who are used to being doted and pampered by their peers.
Boom.
Just as the two were ready to go at it again, a heavy blow from the side suddenly pulled their attention back over. Quickly turning around, that's when they saw Bai Yan's fist leaving an imprint on the door frame. You two want to fight? Alright, go outside and fight. But once you two are finished, there's no need to come back. Frosty and commanding in her voice, Bai Yan left no room to be rebuked here. Frightened to the point where they had to take a step back, the two didn't even have the nerve to breathe using that grieving face of theirs. You must follow my rules while in my place. Easing her tone after getting the intended reaction, Bai Yen was less intimidating. Otherwise, I will send the both of you away. Come, my son, we're leaving. Hand in hand, Bai Yen pulls the little boy away with her for the backyard. Oh, that scared me. When the brilliant red figure was gone, Di Xiaowan could finally gather herself again. No wonder my old bro is taking so long to conquer her. Such a powerful woman is no joke. This is already considered light already. Chu Yi's demeanor also relaxed somewhat. Years ago back when I set her 3 Shifus treasury ablaze, she nearly had me tortured to death. That scaries? Di Xiaowan couldn't even control the pounding in her heart at the news. Peering over to the girl, she suddenly got an unexpected feeling of kinship. You have my sympathy. Getting smart again, Chu Yi quickly follows up with another sentence. If you are sympathetic of me, why don't you give up and let Bai Yen be my sister-in-law? To hear this out of the blue statement, Di Xiaowan's complexion instantly shot up into a cherry red. Dream on. Sister-in-law is so beautiful. I will never give her to you. Knowing the two are going to start quarreling again, Lan Xiaoyan, cousin, suddenly came down with a wonderful idea due to urgency. Exclaiming in surprise like she meant it. Cousin, why are you out here again? This tiny remark was enough to nearly stop their heartbeat. In her urgency, Di Xiaowan suddenly stretched her arms out to hug her foe. I was just joking you before. I will never fight with you again. If you like this translation, consider donating for an extra release or simply turning off adblock helps too. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.